Nice video intro, Brian.
Oh, thanks.
It was a little unplanned. But so those video intros, which I love, they've gotten better and better. Brian makes those. Now Joe and Brian edit our videos, but the video intros, Brian does. Just wanted to mention it. This is a little unplanned. So now, what I want to talk about, of course, is CanJam London. That's what we're here for. We should probably start on that.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us when it is, because I always forget the dates.
Yeah, it's July 20th and 21st. And this year we're back once again at the Park Plaza Westminster Bridge Hotel, right in the heart of Westminster. And I love the location because whenever you walk out of the hotel, you can look straight across the river. You have Big Ben, House of Parliament's right there. There's so close nearby so many wonderful restaurants and entertainment. And yet we always end up spending pretty much our entire weekend in the hotel listening to headphones.
We love every minute of it.
Oh, it's
'cause
fantastic.
We're such audio nerds. But yeah, I love the location. I love where we are, and I love the community.
Yeah.
So I've said this before about our CanJam events. Each one is different. Each show has its own personality. CanJam London is definitely one of those ones with a very strong personality. Our UK Head-Fi community, they're their own thing. And a lot of these community members in the UK have been friends for years.
Yeah.
And then we're going to CanJam London now for, I think, since 2015.
Yep.
We started at the Russell, and every
Right.
year thereafter has been at Park Plaza Westminster Bridge. So it's just a great tradition now.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess we should probably get to the show. We're here for the preview. There's a lot of gear to go over. We should probably start. We're going to start this preview video with over-ear headphones because of the headphone I'm holding in my hands.
Yes.
This is, I think, maybe the most important and exciting new product launch that's happening at CanJam London.
Right.
And this is the Hi-Fi Man Susvara Unveiled. They actually first showed it at CanJam Shanghai, but this is the first time really for the Western market that it's going to make its debut.
Yes.
And this is their new flagship planar magnetic. It's above the Susvara. The Susvara continues in the line. This gets placed above it.
Right.
Now, the original Susvara, I've said this about that, it's been out for over 7 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said about it many times that I think the original Susvara is perhaps the most resolving non-electrostatic headphone I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And when you find a good pairing, a good gear, a system pairing, a setup for the Susvara, magic happens. With the Susvara Unveiled, I don't feel like I have to work as hard. Like I can pair it with many other things that I wouldn't necessarily pair the original Susvara with and get that full-on magic and even, dare I say it, better sound.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I should take the cover off. All right, so it's not a closed-back headphone. It kind of looks like one when I'm holding it with the cover on. This is a protective cover, and I'm going to explain why. So I want to explain, this is called the magnetic veil.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy sitting across from me kind of named it, actually. We were preparing for CanJam Shanghai, and we didn't know if they had a part name for this, and it turns out they didn't.
Right.
They hadn't named it yet. And they were just referring to this as a protective magnetic cover.
Yep.
So Brian jokingly says, well, since it's called the Susvara Unveiled, they should call the cover the veil.
Yeah.
You know, when it's on, it's veiled, and when you take it off, it's unveiled. So we giggled, thinking that was kind of cute. And then I texted Fong and said, you know, Brian just had this idea, and then he ran with it.
Yeah.
So now it's called the magnetic veil. So you did a thing. Anyway, so what happens when we take off that magnetic cover? So you take that off when you want to listen to it. You put it back on when you're not listening to it to protect it.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you take it off, it becomes the most open back planar magnetic headphone probably ever.
Right.
Because with the Susvara and other flagship class headphones from Hi-Fi Man, they've been using something they call the window shade design.
Yeah.
I won't get into the details of that. Then there's the grill,
mm-hmm.
the window shade design. They've removed all that.
Yeah.
So it is super duper open, completely open.
Right.
I mean, I'm looking at the diaphragm open.
Yeah.
That's how open it is. So they did that to eliminate the negative effects of sound wave reflections.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, that's why when you're not listening to it, you have to slap a protective cover on it.
Exactly.
Is it better than the Susvara? To me, unquestionably. Again, I can get Susvara magic out of it with so many other things that I cannot with the Susvara. I used the SP3000T, was the first thing I played it with
Yeah.
At
Munich high-end.
Munich high-end.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. And then the more I moved up, the better it got. But it was still, like, I would use it with that.
Yeah.
It is more sensitive, I should say. I would say, it's fair to say, I'd say significantly more sensitive than the original Susvara, which I think is a part of the magic I'm talking about.
Right.
But it's not just that. They've refined it. They've had over 7 years to work on a replacement, and they've refined it. The treble, this reminds me a little bit of what I said with the Utopia from Focal and the Utopia 2022.
Right.
That somehow the Utopia 2022 had sort of a smoother treble,
Yeah.
but yet more detail nevertheless.
Mm-hmm.
It was more real, more resolving. Boom. That's what I'm hearing with this versus the Susvara. It's smoother up top.
Yep.
But there's more detail there. It's more natural, more resolving. And I can get it without these, without just mega pairings.
Right. Since
it's more expensive than the original Susvara, maybe that will matter to you, because maybe you won't have the budget at that point to get an EF1000 DAC, which is the officially recommended source and amp for it from Hi-Fi Man. And by the way, with the EF1000 DAC, which you'll be able to hear at Hi-Fi Man's exhibit with this, incredible world-class stuff.
Yeah.
But the EF500, which is way less expensive.
Significantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with your portable player, you should try it.
Yeah.
Which you generally wouldn't do with the Susvara. So anyway, this is a magnificent headphone. I would say this is my new non-electrostatic resolution standard.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautifully musical headphone. I love the refinements they made to it versus the Susvara. Biggest can't miss for me at CanJam London is the Susvara unveiled.
With Hi-Fi Man showing their new flagship planar magnetic headphone, I want to make sure you don't miss the latest addition to their electrostatic family, the Hi-Fi Man Mini Shangri-La. The Mini Shangri-La, as you probably guessed from its name, is the smallest member in the Shangri-La family. It shares a nanometer thickness diaphragm and dust cover system with its larger siblings, the Shangri-La and Shangri-La Junior, but with a conventional plate design rather than the metal mesh you'll find in the two more premium models. Also like the Junior and Senior, the Mini Shangri-La is a complete electrostatic system. Yes, a complete system, so you don't need to buy a separate amp to drive the headphones. Whereas the Shangri-La and Shangri-La Junior systems incorporated tubes into their design, the Mini's amplifier is a solid-state design with transistor-high voltage direct output, which no doubt contributed to the Mini Shangri-La's compact footprint, taking up far less space on your desk. While I adore the bigger Shangri-Las, the Mini certainly falls more in line with my space and budgetary requirements, and I can't wait to check it out at the show.
So we're going to go to that one next.
Yeah, this one.
So this is like budget whiplash, going from the Susvara Unveiled, which is priced way up here, to
the FIO FT3,
which is priced very affordably.
Very affordably, and I kind of feel like it's almost an unsung hero because it doesn't get anywhere near as much talk as I think it should. It's a fantastic headphone.
I agree completely.
Even not considering the price tag. But it's a 60 millimeter dynamic headphone, and one thing that's going to jump out to a lot of people right off the bat, it's a 350 ohm impedance headphone.
Yeah.
So that might surprise some people.
Yeah.
But it has angled drivers inside, which often gives you many headphones that have angled drivers give you a different kind of presentation and a different, both to the spatiality of the sound and the sound itself.
Yeah, no, it actually images well.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. It does have a beryllium-coated gasket, or beryllium-plated gasket, sorry, and a DLC diaphragm on the driver itself.
DLC standing for diamond-like carbon.
Yes, exactly. These are well-equipped. So it comes with multiple cables, multiple adapters and terminations, multiple ear pads, multiple cases. It's crazy. And here in the US, it's $300.
I know. It's incredible.
Very, very affordable. And the sound for this is, you mentioned it before, this is one that actually kind of surprises a lot of people because it's a little more studio-like depending on what ear pad you have.
Right. So there's a couple sets of ear pads.
Yes.
I do prefer one set of ear pads to the other for
Right.
sure. But depending on which ear pads you choose, it could actually be a studio monitor. I could actually see this becoming a staple in a studio setting as an affordable studio monitor headphone.
Yeah.
And, I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it because I really do believe this is the case. This headphone to me, it's depending on, again, how long they let the life cycle go on this thing, it could go into classic territory, becoming kind of a legend over time, just because it's so affordable. They include so much cool stuff with it, and the sound is fantastic.
Yes.
So to me, that is a classic in the making.
Yeah. So for only $300 US, this is an absolute must-hear at FIO's exhibit.
Now, FIO will also at their exhibit have the FIO FT5,
right,
which is sort of the planar magnetic sibling to the dynamic FT3. It's a little more expensive at $449 US, but it's a 90 millimeter planar magnetic driver, 36 ohm impedance, open back design, magnesium alloy housing, like the FT3, 2 types of ear pads for
Yep.
tuning. We have very little experience with this. I got
Right.
to listen to it at a couple of the shows just briefly,
Mm-hmm.
and then I listened to it also at Munich High End. So we should really pick up a pair
Yeah,
of
absolutely.
the FT5s and maybe listen to it more at CanJam London. But if you're looking for an affordable planar magnetic option from Fio and the kind of, and that we should mention with the FT3 and the FT5, the build quality.
Yes.
As almost really any Fio product that I can think of right now that they've made in the last several years, the build quality is superb.
Yeah.
So definitely look for the Fio FT5 as well. So when you're listening to the FT3, check out the planar magnetic FT5.
And there was one more Fio headphone that I got to see at CanJam Shanghai. It's the Fio JT1. Now, I didn't really know much about this headphone ahead of CanJam Shanghai. We got a couple of specs and details, and we had a little information in the CanJam preview for that show. But at CanJam Shanghai, there were a lot of people getting head time with that headphone. First of all, the price, it's $70 or $69 US.
Yeah.
And it's a 50 millimeter high performance dynamic driver inside of that thing. It's a PEK plus PU aluminum foil composite polymer diaphragm with a closed cavity design. And they say that it has a CCAW paper tube voice coil and an N52 high performance magnet system. So you're getting a lot of engineering and design and tech for $70
And build quality.
and build quality. And if you're looking for something that's thicker on the low end, a little more fun, a little more oomph, for $70 or under $70 US, it's really hard to
Yeah,
go
a lot of
wrong.
headfires gravitate to a signature like that.
Yeah.
So for that price, that is also can't miss. It's kind of unbelievable that we're talking about 3 over-ear headphones with Fio.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're doing so many new headphones, and they're all so well designed and built.
You know what I love? I love when you can hold something and say that it's the best whatever it is in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you're holding what I think is the best gaming headset in the world.
It really is.
It really is.
So this is the Odyssey Maxwell, and Odyssey really pulled out all of the stops when they created this. It's not their first headphone because they did come out with the Mobius as a gaming headset.
Yeah.
And they took what they learned in the Mobius and ran, and man, did they run.
Yeah, they just kept running.
It is such a fantastic headphone. So first of all, let's just talk about the sound quality. It sounds amazing out of the box with the default EQ. By the way, there are multiple EQs in this headphone.
Yes.
But it sounds phenomenal straight out of the box. No tweaking required. There's some default profiles that are built in. One of them even is pretty close to Harman, which is really nice to have an option. Just toggle right into the Harman mode if that's your preferred taste.
Yeah.
And then you can customize the EQ using their Maxwell app. So it's so nice. Sound quality is fantastic. Mic quality. It's a headset. So it's got built-in microphones. It also has a detachable boom microphone. The built-in microphones have a beamforming array system, and that is used for outgoing noise rejection.
Right.
So if there's sound going on in your room, let's say you have, fans or food crinkling or whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
it's going to reject a lot of that, and it's just going to send your voice through.
Right. So you don't annoy the people you're network gaming with
Absolutely.
or chatting with.
Yeah. So I have a lot of friends that I play with, and a few of them have this headphone, and you can tell the ones that do because so much less noise. So much less noise. Now, they also did something really cool recently with this headphone. If you're a professional, they released a firmware update that actually turned on head tracking for Dolby Atmos Renderer. Now, it's only in Dolby Atmos Renderer, but there are a number of professionals out there that use that software on a regular daily basis. And it's not an expensive headphone. You can use your Dolby Atmos Renderer software right there, get that head tracking, boom, you're set.
Yeah. And it also has a zillion hours of battery life.
Oh, massive. What is
All
it?
right, so technically
80
it's like
hours,
80,
I think?
It's like 80 or 85 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I never have to worry about charging it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're more of a gamer than me.
I am.
But I mean, I game a little bit. You like to game a lot. And I want to also mention for someone like me, it's also, so even if you don't game at all, it's also just a great wireless music headphone.
It really is.
It's actually probably one of the better Bluetooth headphones you can buy today just for listening to music. Those EQ profiles, except for the custom ones, right?
Right.
That you have to use the app to customize. But the profiles that you can select are selectable right on the headphone.
Yeah,
anyway,
choose the wheel.
Yeah, with the wheel. So that is such a great piece of technology. I love that it came from Odyssey.
Yes.
A company that lives squarely in the world of hi-fi as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it took an Odyssey to make a Maxwell.
Yeah, they brought their planar magnetic technology and they just put it in a wonderful machine.
We love the Maxwell.
We do.
We have like 3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, there's one other reason why I think people will be excited to try the Audeze Maxwell at CanJam London, but it's not going to be at Audeze's exhibit. So Deconi Audio came out with new pads for the Maxwell, and spoiler, I'm actually an owner of the Maxwell pads myself. So they came out with a sheepskin version, which is not the one that I picked up, but they also came out with an Elite Velour, and that's the one I ordered pretty much as soon as it was announced. Popped it on my Maxwell, and let me tell you, it increased comfort massively. So the Maxwell went from a headphone that I could wear for several hours in a gaming session to countless hours. So I could probably go an entire day, and you'd probably hate that because I'm not getting much work done, but I'd be spending so much time with that headphone on, gaming nonstop. And it's not just the Maxwell from Audeze that got new pads. So Deconi Audio also came out with basically what seems like the spiritual successor to those vegan pads they had many years back, that when they were discontinued, people were so disheartened because they couldn't get them anymore. Well, Deconi Audio actually teamed up with DMS to try and recreate that same kind of magic. And based on what I've been seeing online, it kind of seems like they may have done it. So I'm going to be stopping by and checking those out because it's been such a long time since I've heard the vegan pads. I just want to kind of reacquaint myself with that sound. And then they also came out with new pads for Audeze's Manny Marroquin line, the MM100 and the MM500.
Both of which you use a lot.
I use both of those regularly, so those are going to be ones I check out as well. And anybody who's a studio professional using the MM headphones will definitely want to check those out too.
Sheepskin, velour, and hybrid.
Yes, all 3. And it's not just Audeze that has new pads from Deconi Audio. For example, Meza has the 109 Pro. Well, they have 2 new offerings for the 109 Pro in finished rated sheepskin and elite hybrid pads. They also have new pads for Focal's newest headphones. Yeah, the Osiris and the Baptiste and the Adonis. They are available in elite sheepskin and elite suede. So I'm very curious to try those out because I think those headphones sound fantastic. I'd be curious to see what happens with a pad swap.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of those ones, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And then also, Deconi Audio's Tal Kosin will be giving a seminar over the weekend. We'll get into that a little bit later in more detail, but based on, the description, it's definitely one to be checking out.
Hyphonics is a veteran CanJam London exhibitor, and this year they've really expanded their presence at our show, and I'm so excited about what they're doing. So at this year's CanJam London, Hyphonics will have a dedicated exhibit room upstairs in Plaza 10 next to DCS's exhibit room, but I'll talk more about that in the electronics segment of this CanJam preview video. In the main exhibit area, for headphones, Hyphonics will have Stax, RAL 1995, Abyss headphones, and other makes too. Speaking of Abyss headphones, I actually spoke with Joe Skubinski from Abyss Headphones today, and he confirmed that Hyphonics will have the brand new Abyss headphones Diana DZ at the show, which he says has a wider soundstage, closer to their flagship AB1266 in this respect than any Diana before it. He says the DZ also has excellent depth to the stage and is very open sounding. The Diana DZ also has a new headband sling which improves comfort significantly by reducing hot spots. This headband sling is also now standard on the Diana MR, by the way. The DZ also comes stock with new hybrid ear pads with lambskin inner and outer rings with an ultra suede face, which I'm told is extremely comfortable. And Abyss will also have a custom Diana DZ in blue abalone at the DCS exhibit room upstairs in Plaza 11 that will be paired with a custom matching DCS Lena headphone amp, also in blue abalone. I've seen photos. It's an absolutely gorgeous, visually striking combination, so make sure to check that out too.
This is definitely one of the biggest hits in our community in the last year. This is the Dan Clark Audio E3.
Mm-hmm.
We did an entire video about the E3.
We did.
I flew out to San Diego to meet with Dan Clark, interview him. That's in the video. Check it out. We have measurements and my impressions of the Dan Clark Audio E3. So what this is a closed-back planar magnetic headphone that looks like an open-back headphone, but don't be mistaken. It is a closed-back headphone. It uses their 5th-generation planar magnetic design with updated and improved AMTS design.
Yeah.
That's, I always forget, what is that
Acoustic metamaterial tuning system.
Thank you very much. And it has an updated Dan Clark Audio V-planar knurling.
Right.
Very intricate V-planar knurling that took many, many iterations to arrive at.
Yeah.
It's built from titanium, aluminum, and carbon. Beautiful build. Gorilla Glass 3 is what is the outside of the cup here.
Which is such a nice addition.
It's a nice addition, very durable.
Yes, exactly.
So they did drop testing with it, so it's very durable. And here's the thing. This one, for many people, comes kind of a hair's breadth away from the Stealth in terms of performance. Now, I will say it. You prefer the E3,
I
even
do.
though it's way more affordable than the Stealth.
Significantly,
The
yes.
Stealth being Dan Clark Audio's closed back, which is, again, this is closed back. The Stealth is the closed back flagship for
Right.
Dan Clark Audio. I prefer the Stealth
You do.
because it has a smoother treble presentation, a little richer tone as a result overall. And I prefer that one. Love the E3 as well, but I prefer the Stealth. But the Stealth is a lot more expensive.
It is.
But you actually prefer the E3.
Yeah.
And that says something when you have their closed back flagship that can split opinions like that with a headphone of theirs. That's now you see why it's selling so well.
Right.
So don't miss the Dan Clark Audio E3, and that'll be at Electromod's exhibit.
Yes.
So don't miss the E3 at Electromod. Focal's best sounding headphones have been their passive made in France audiophile and flagship class headphones.
Yes.
Phenomenal family of headphones. But affordability hasn't always been associated with those headphones.
Very true.
So we did an entire video about the two headphones we're holding here. I'm holding the Focal Osiris. You're holding the Focal Adonis.
Yes.
These are made in France. They are passive.
Right.
And they are fantastic for the price.
Oh, they really are.
And now this one here that I'm holding, especially this one, although that one even kind of looks like the Batiste, you might think these are the Batiste. They're not the Focal Batiste, which is a popular... you
Actually,
put
got it. I forgot to grab it.
You forgot to grab it. Can you reach it?
There we go. I got it. I got
You
it.
got it.
I got it now.
So that's the Focal Batiste. I guess I'm going to pivot real quick just to cover that one very quickly.
Yeah.
The Focal Batiste is their Bluetooth ANC active noise canceling headphone. And to me, that is maybe the most musical of the Bluetooth ANC headphones that we have here.
Right.
So that's one I use for listening to music. It's not necessarily my first choice for, ultimate noise canceling, although it does cancel noise well.
Right.
But for musicality, yeah, you got to audition those. Now that's the Dune colorway. That's their latest colorway.
Right.
There is a black colorway as
Yes.
well. But I think a lot of people in the community know about the Focal Batiste. But
I
if
think
you're,
so.
Yeah, if you're looking for a Bluetooth headphone, though, definitely check that out at CanJam London. But let's get back to the Osiris and Adonis. So these are, again, made in France. And they use the 40-millimeter aluminum magnesium dome in the driver that has been used, the exact same dome that's been used in several of their much higher-end headphones.
Right.
Like still in the Celestia, right?
Yes.
Then there was the original Clear, the Ealier,
Yeah.
and the Radiance.
Yes, the Bentley
Radiance.
Yeah.
So they use the exact same aluminum magnesium dome in both of these in a driver specifically built for these.
Yes, exactly.
So because it's a lower profile design.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done a beautiful job with both of these headphones. So the Osiris is closed back. It has 26 ohm impedance. It comes with a 1.25 millimeter cable, a meter cable, with a microphone in line so that you can use it for Zoom calls and phone calls. And it just sounds gorgeous.
Yeah.
For the closed back headphone it is. And you're holding the Adonis, which we both agree in absolute terms sounds better. Not
Right.
surprising because it's open back.
Yes.
Also uses that same dynamic driver, also 26 ohm impedance, comes with a 1.8 meter cable with a 6.35 millimeter termination, or actually a mini termination with an adapter.
Adapter, yeah.
With 6.35 millimeter adapter. And both come with compact carrying case.
Mm-hmm.
And I love being able to carry both of these
Oh, yeah.
wherever you go, having a significant taste of the Focal flagship sound on the go.
Mm-hmm.
What a treat. So again, we've done a full video of these.
Right.
Check it out. We had measurements, full review, comparison measurements. So check it out and make sure to check them out at CanJam London. Also, while you're at Focal's exhibit, make sure not to miss their flagship class stuff.
Yes.
The headphones that inspired the Osiris and Adonis, including what I think is simply from a technical standpoint, from a musicality standpoint, from a resolution standpoint, the best dynamic headphone ever created, and that's their latest generation Focal Utopia. We call it the Focal Utopia 2022 because it came out in 2022 and replaced the original Focal Utopia. It addressed pretty much everything that I wanted them to address in the original Utopia. It's smoother sounding but more resolving.
Right.
And it sounds richer. I don't really EQ that one like I'd EQ the other one.
Yeah.
And for that, I love it. And honestly, it's one of my favorite headphones ever made. So check that out. And the Celestia. Check out the closed back flagship Stellia, which I also love. That along with the Utopia has their beryllium dome, solid beryllium dome drivers, and those are rare and beautiful things.
Yes. Caldus Research will be joining us this year, and they're showing off something which caught my attention straight away. CanJam London will be the first place for us to audition the new Enox, a flagship class electrostatic headphone that's closed back. Yes, a closed back electrostatic headphone from the minds behind the $500 RR1 Conquest. Now, I don't have many specific details about the Enox, but here is what I know. First, the Enox will be pro bias. Second, the Enox is an all-new design from Caldus Research. It shares no parts with the RR1 which came before it. And lastly, there will be 2 variants of the Enox like there was with the RR1, which tells me there was a standard and premium version likely to be available. That's all I know for now, but we can learn much more and get listening impressions at the Caldus Research exhibit.
Now, anytime we do a CanJam preview video for a CanJam at which DCS will be exhibiting, I always mention that they have maybe the best exhibit at the show.
Yeah.
Because they have the kind of the creature comforts of a home rig.
Right.
And several of them. But there is one exhibit that I want to mention also, and we're in the headphone section here, that I have to mention ZMF's exhibit.
Yeah.
So whenever ZMF does an exhibit, they are also one of the best, and I think some would say the best exhibit at the show, just because they may not have all the individual sort of like home stations, although they do a great job with their systems. But they have so much gear. Like, so much gear. It's like the closest thing to a toy store for a Headfire at a CanJam. You walk in and you're just like, I'm so happy right now. There's so much stuff here that I want to hear. And it's such a great, exciting exhibit that they put on as well. So I thought I'd mention that before we get into their headphones. Let's get into their headphones, though.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also do want to say thank you to ZMF Headphones because they are show sponsors.
Oh, thanks, guys.
So we wouldn't be able to do the show without them, and you'll be able to find them one floor above the main exhibit space in the Plaza 8 and 9 room.
Oh, and as it turns out, that's usually right next to DCS.
Right next to DCS, yeah. So I want to start by talking about one of their more recent releases. It's a headphone that came out, I believe, earlier this year. We talked about it briefly in the CanJam New York preview video. It's the Caldera Closed. One of the reasons why I want to focus on this, I mean, obviously it sounds fantastic, but it's a closed Caldera, which you might not realize how difficult that is to take an open headphone and make a closed headphone that sounds similar and captures the essence of the open headphone.
Yeah, so just a quick note on that. Yeah. So let's take a wildly popular, well-known headphone, Sennheiser HD600. It's open back, right? If I was to take an HD600 and just close the back, like just take, exactly. And if I were to close the back and say, ta-da, I have a closed back HD600, no, you wouldn't. You would not have a closed HD600. It would. I haven't done it, but it would probably sound terrible.
I can't imagine that would sound nice.
So the Caldera, the original Caldera, is open back, and if you were just to slap an enclosure on the back of it to close it up, it would probably sound terrible.
Oh yeah.
So to your point, I agree with you 1,000%. I might have said something similar for the CanJam New York preview. To get a closed version of an open back headphone and then achieve its spirit, its sound in a closed back design takes tremendous engineering, tuning, effort. So anyway, I interrupted you, but I agree with your point. My point.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah.
And because they started with the Caldera system, there are a lot of similar technologies from the Caldera Open in the closed. So for example, you're going to find that it's a 60 ohm headphone. You're going to find that it has the Caldera asymmetrical magnet structure. It has that HRAM dampening system that they have in a number of other models, CMF headphone models. And this one comes in stock wood, a beautiful white oak finish. There's a natural and a coffee gold
Which version do we have? We don't have it anymore right now.
We had the white oak, and I think it was the coffee version. And
that was so beautiful.
Yeah, we had to send it back, but it was stunning.
Yeah. We have to get another one in here.
We really should.
Yeah.
But it sounded so nice. When we had it here, like I said, it made me feel like a Caldera Open. And when you need the isolation, that you just can't go with an open headphone.
Yeah.
Whether it be in a situation where you want to block out the outside or you don't want to let your music leak out and disturb anybody else around you.
Which is the case for me quite often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, at work or at home, different situations, but you usually need a closed headphone if there's anybody else around. So Caldera Closed is absolutely going to be one people have to check out at their exhibit.
So while we're on the topic of closed back CMFs, there was another one that, again, we had briefly before CanJam New York, we were both very excited. You were very excited about this one.
That was my favorite of the two that we had.
I think that
around
was
period.
maybe your favorite of the ZMF headphones so far.
Yeah, I think that's
maybe
accurate.
that is, which was
Yeah.
the bokeh, the
Bokeh.
ZMF headphones bokeh
Yeah.
closed, which I think is just called the bokeh.
It's just called the bokeh. Yeah.
And the reason we're specifying closed is because they will be showing an open back one, which we'll get to in a second.
Yes.
So the bokeh was probably one of your favorite ZMFs, if not your favorite, because
It was definitely up there.
yeah, because it had what was, as I recall, because we haven't had it since then. I would say it was ZMF's most kind of traditional headphone in terms of
Yeah.
sound. It was one that might even have studio type applicability.
From memory, I think that was definitely the case.
Yeah, that might be why, because you tend to favor a lot of the studio monitor type
I do.
signatures, so that wouldn't surprise me that you would gravitate to that one. But again, it was closed back. Let's go over some of the things it had. Liquid crystal polymer, 50 millimeter dynamic driver.
Mm-hmm.
It is, again, a closed back design.
Yep.
And it had a fold flat oval design.
I did love that. Yeah.
I did too. So, I mean, it's portable.
It's transportable. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more portable than anything else that ZMF's released to date.
Yes, absolutely.
But let's just be clear. It's not like some tiny portable headphone.
No, right.
80 ohm impedance, atrium damping system, and it took years to develop.
Yeah, I think they said like 4 or 5 years
Yeah,
in
something like
development. Yeah.
So now is this in the notes? It says black limbo wood stained a dark claret.
Yeah, that's the stock.
Is that what we had here?
That's the one we had here.
That was beautiful.
It was.
Yeah, that was beautiful,
Yeah.
elegant, and that was it was kind of a simple, elegant design, and I love it.
Yeah, very subtle, very tasteful.
Yeah, that's another closed back ZMF not to miss.
And you briefly mentioned the bokeh open, so I do want to share that ZMF headphones will have a close to production version of the bokeh open at their CanJam London exhibit. Now, it's close to final voicing. They're not sure if they want to make any more changes, so they're taking headfire feedback. If you're going to be at the show, definitely stop by, give it a listen, let them know what you think. It's possible you may end up shaping the future of a ZMF headphones model.
Yeah, I will definitely be doing that because I'm actually very interested in what the bokeh open is going to turn out like.
Yeah.
Now, we were about to end the ZMF segment, and then I
Yeah.
realized, wait a second, I want to mention these two models really quick. And the reason is because, number one, they're wildly popular.
Yeah.
Number two, for as long as this one that I'm holding is a currently available model, and as long as it'll be at CanJam, I will always mention it.
Yep.
And it's the ZMF Headphones Atrium. This is their flagship dynamic headphone, and I love this headphone so much. It is one of my favorite headphones at any price of any type of all time.
Mhm.
That's how much I love the Atrium. It just sounds like music. To me, it almost is like the tube amp of headphones.
Yeah.
But it also sounds great out of a tube amp. So love the Atrium. It will be there. Don't miss it. You're holding the Caldera. That's their flagship planar magnetic headphone.
Right.
That's an open back model. We talked about the closed back one just a moment ago. And that is also a favorite. That's a co-flagship with this one. That's their flagship planar magnetic model.
Mhm.
And between the two, I prefer the Atrium, but it seems to be a fairly evenly split, actually.
Yeah.
But I thought, like in London a couple years ago, there were more people when I would ask them that preferred the Caldera. So anyways, decide for yourself. But whatever you do, don't miss the Atrium and the Caldera, even though they've been out for a while. And even though they're so wildly popular, don't miss these at the ZMF Headphones exhibit. Now, I wanted to start the Meza Audio segment with this headphone, which is the Meza Audio 105 Air, AER.
Yeah.
It's a brand new model. I think you just said to me when we were talking offline that they haven't officially announced this yet?
Yeah, it's not officially out yet.
Okay, so it's not officially out yet.
No specs and details. We have limited information.
Okay, so at Munich High End, they were letting people listen to it.
Yeah.
I did not know about it before I walked in there. They asked me to listen to it, give them feedback. I did. Here's what I'll tell you. The 105, I believe, is going to be less expensive than the 109. I'm quite certain about that.
Okay,
You're holding the 109.
I am.
Which is a popular model in our community.
for good reason.
Yeah, so the 109 is an open back headphone that's less expensive than their flagship class stuff.
Yes.
And a lot of people love it. But the 105 kind of seems to represent this thing that Meza is doing. With the Alba, for example, with their in-ears. We'll get to that with the in-ears. The Meza Audio Alba is a super affordable in-ear
Mm-hmm.
that I think I prefer to any of their other in-ears that are more expensive.
Right.
With the 105, I might actually prefer this to the 109. And I told that to them. So from a treble standpoint, you prefer the 109.
Clearly, yes.
Clearly. Because you prefer more treble. You like a lot more treble detail and presence than I like
Yes.
in general. And for this, the 105, it's on the smoother side treble-wise. It's a smooth, refined treble. Still resolving, but smooth, refined compared to the 109. But for your taste, 109 clearly.
Yeah.
For me, I'm torn because I can see why people would love the 109 for that.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the treble, that smooth treble on this gives it a richer tonality.
Yeah.
That, again, for my preferences, I tend to gravitate to when I'm doing just general listening. Hard to say. Hard for me to make the call. But how exciting that they're going to have another affordable open back headphone that's very Meza audio. It's very beautiful. It looks a lot like the 109 from the headband standpoint. That's because I think they do share a headband. I think everything else is different.
It is. I will say the design of that does remind me of that limited edition 109 Primal they released.
Okay, I remember that one, but we never we
didn't
never got
pick one up, but it gives me a similar vibe. Yeah,
that was gorgeous. That was like that hand
done. Yeah,
hand done wood. Yeah.
Oh, it was lovely.
Yeah, actually, you're right. That does remind me of it. But anyway, so don't miss this mysterious, enigmatic new Meza at CanJam London called the 105 Air. I'm sure they're going to be releasing details about it soon.
Yeah,
it is so good for the money that if I understand the price correctly, I won't say because I'm not sure if I'm right. For what I believe the price is going to be. They're shaking up their line yet again.
Yeah.
We're holding sequels.
We are.
We're holding sequels. I have the Empyrean 2. You have the Lyric 2. These are by Meza Audio. Meza Audio, to me, is one of the most daring companies in the space.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to go back several years when the original Empyrean was released. Actually, before it was released, I remember Antonio Meza telling me that they were thinking of releasing a flagship class in terms of performance and price headphone. It became the Empyrean. But at the time, they were selling the 99 Classic, which was quite affordable. That was their model. And to go from that to like $3,000 for the Empyrean was a huge move. And I remember having these discussions with Antonio about maybe some of the challenges that would come with that in terms of perception, in terms of like, would people... Well, anyways, let's fast forward.
Yeah.
The Empyrean rocked it.
It did.
It sold a lot. It was a big hit. And it was their flagship for years. And I love the Empyrean because it has a kind of a smooth, rich tonality that I love. And a lot of people loved. And they sold a lot of them. So why daring? Well, the Empyrean 2, I thought would be kind of like an evolution of that signature.
Right.
But they didn't do that. And it's replacing the original Empyrean.
Yeah.
It sounds entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas the Empyrean wasn't, the original Empyrean was not, I wouldn't call it neutral. I called it rich in tone, rich and smooth, but yet still resolving. This is even more resolving, and they went for what I would call a perceived neutral tonality. Now, for the umpteenth time, I don't believe neutral when it comes to headphones or earphones is a single target. It's a range, and this is well within that range. So I don't know which I prefer because I really do love the original Empyrean, but I also really love this one because it's so different.
Right.
So I love to have them both. And that this is replacing the original Empyrean. I'm a bit conflicted. You are not conflicted.
There's no conflict here.
Yeah,
No.
because this is more right up your alley.
Yes.
You tend to like studio reference monitor type sounds.
Yeah.
This falls into that, what I call that range. And it's the first Meza that I think could be used in a studio setting.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I agree, absolutely.
Well, now they have an in-ear that might. But anyways, we'll get to that in the in-ears. So I'm very excited about the Empyrean. It uses the Renaro isodynamic hybrid array driver, but I believe it's a different driver. Switchback coil, spiral coil design, impedance 32 ohms. Different ear pads, duo flat ear pads, which is a precise blend of premium leather and Alcantara.
Yeah.
It is a new ear pad for the Empyrean 2. And it also comes with angled pads, the Alcantara and soft foam pads that already existed prior to the Empyrean 2, which I think might be the best pads with the original Empyrean. I'll say it now. Go with the duo flat ear pads. At least start with those. Those are my favorite with this by a margin.
I agree.
So, but try it. And it comes with both. At the show, you'll be able to try both. Matte black finish, which we both love.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. So I've said it. There's another thing I've said a million times before. Meza Audio makes what might be the best crafted, most beautiful to look at headphones ever made. They're also insanely comfortable.
Yes.
I've said before that macro photography loves Meza headphones.
Yep, they really do.
Zoom in at any level. You can just go right in there and you're going to get some beautiful detail.
Yeah.
That just works. So then you go out and then you have beautiful lines No bad angles, beautiful headphones. This doesn't change that. It really is based on the original Empyrean's chassis and appearance. So yeah, but with a redesigned grill that we both love. So don't miss the Empyrean 2. I think it's a daring new headphone, given that they're replacing a previous flagship class headphone that was popular with an entirely different signature.
Right.
That I think, actually, to be honest with you, I think more people, this will probably have broader appeal than the original Empyrean. For me, given my tastes, I'm a bit torn. Anyways, don't miss this one. Now you're holding the other sequel, another daring turn.
Yes, it really is.
Right. So and that's the Lyric 2.
Yeah.
So the Lyric closed-back headphone, which was an affordable closed-back headphone, was another popular model from Meza.
Right.
People were excited to have a higher end or a premium class closed-back headphone from Meza. So what did they do for a sequel? They changed it completely.
Yeah.
And frankly, I really enjoy the Lyric 2. Now, for you, I think you would prefer the original Lyric.
I'm more in the original Lyric camp.
Right, because what they did for this one, so for the Empyrean 2, they went for a more neutral tone versus its predecessor.
Right.
Or neutral tonal balance versus its predecessor. With the Lyric 2, they went for a lusher sound signature.
And that's based on the feedback that they got from owners.
Of the Lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can actually get that. So for me, I prefer the Lyric 2.
Well,
So-
if you think about it, it's a portable headphone, so it's closed back and it's efficient. You can easily drive it by a lot of portable devices. If you're out and about, sometimes having a lusher, richer signature is actually better given the environment that's around you.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic experience when you're on the road, for example, or commuting or whatever. And it's not just the sound signature that's changed. So original Lyric owners will actually kind of be jealous of this fact, but these earpads, they come off super easily.
Yeah, well, like as with their flagship stuff.
Yeah, so the original Lyric couldn't do that.
Yeah,
but these have a magnetic grill system, and it also does have what's in here, this QWRM.
Is that what
Yep.
Quarter wavelength resonator mask.
Yep. So basically what they're doing here is they are using that QWRM to tune the sound to get exactly what they're going for. And they say that the QWRM is a precision-crafted metal component that strategically covers selected openings in the driver frame to effectively attenuate high-frequency peaks above 7 kilohertz for a less fatiguing listening experience. So it gives you that richer, thicker sound without losing much resolution and detail.
Right.
And it still makes it comfortable to listen to for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's a smooth sound. I think there's fantastic resolution for what it is, this closed-back premium headphone.
Yep.
And frankly, I love its smooth signature. So yeah, for me, I prefer the Lyric 2 to the Lyric.
Yeah.
You probably prefer the original Lyric to the Lyric 2.
I do.
But again, what a daring choice from Meza. Still again. Did we mention the Macassar Ebony? Which
No, we have not
Yeah,
yet.
you love that. When you were photographing it, you were just oohing and eyeing about that.
It is a beautiful wood. I love the way they finished it, and the accessories, the tone, the coloring. It just looks so nice together. Like you were saying about macro photography.
Yeah.
This is another one. Every single angle. I mean, even this section right here that connects the arm.
Yeah.
I think it's stunning.
I do too. Noble Audio in the over-ear headphone section, which I think is going to surprise a lot of you. It certainly surprised me last December at the PotaFest show. That's the earphone portable audio show in Tokyo. Went to Noble Audio's exhibit there, and Kai from Noble Audio had that, or a prototype of that, and that's called the Noble Audio Focus Apollo. Obviously an over-ear headphone. Was super shocked to see that, and it was actually very impressive.
Yeah.
So that prototype was very impressive. I should mention right away that it is a hybrid headphone, 40-millimeter dynamic driver, and a 14-millimeter planar magnetic driver.
Right.
So they say it's the patented world's first hybrid dual driver arrangement.
Yeah.
So very cool that. And then I heard it again in a more finished version at Munich High End, and it had gotten even better.
Yeah.
And closer to being a final product. And again, was impressed and asked him then, when is this thing coming out? He was like, as soon as we can. They're still working on some things. And then we received that one.
Yeah.
Which you've spent more time with than me. That is, I'm not sure which version that is. It's still a Noble Audio Focus Apollo, of course, but how close are they to production?
So I was talking to the Noble team, and they said the voicing is final.
Okay.
The fit and finish on this may have a couple of small tweaks between now and launch, but the voicing that we have here is set.
Good to know. Actually, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic sound.
Yeah.
So to me, it has what I consider audiophile fun. It has some emphasis and presence in the low end and the lower mid range.
But not bass head.
Not bass head, no.
Right.
And I think that's a wonderful voicing for a portable headphone, especially if you're going to be out and about, because when you have that low end emphasis, it can help counteract some of the outside low end energy,
Yes.
which really helps the music come through better. So I love seeing that. I also love when I'm out and about having a transparency mode, which this does have. So I can get pass through for somebody talking around me or the environment if I'm outside walking around near traffic or anything like that.
Sure.
And then if I want the opposite of that, it has ANC. So active noise cancellation will give you about 60 hours of battery life with the ANC circuit turned on. If you turn it off, about 80. Which is
so
nuts.
that is nice with some of the headphones we're seeing, although this kind of takes it to an extreme, kind of like the Odyssey Maxwell.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking 60 to 80 hours of battery
Yeah.
life. That's a big deal, actually.
It's crazy, and I love it.
Yeah, I love not having to worry about recharging
Mm-hmm.
something. So the other thing we should mention, I don't know if you mentioned, it's Bluetooth 5.3.
Not yet. No, yeah.
So it's Bluetooth 5.3,
Mm-hmm.
and it has multi-point, which
Yes.
I think is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
It has LDAC, Snapdragon Sound, AAC, aptX, and aptX HD.
Right.
So as audiophile Bluetooth headphones go, with those codecs and its performance, the cool driver hybrid arrangement, this is a fantastic entrant. This is, again, the Noble Audio Focus Apollo. It'll be at CanJam London. What a fantastic entrant into the audiophile Bluetooth headphone market. So at Munich High-End, Sennheiser asked me to guest host an episode of their Beyond the Curve series of videos.
Right.
I was very thrilled to do that. I interviewed Yermo Konka from Sennheiser, so I was actually the interviewer in that video, which was fun. And talked to Yermo about the headphone I'm holding here, which was launching that day, which is the Sennheiser HD620S. And I'm so excited about this headphone because it's the first closed-back 600 series headphone from Sennheiser. And that's a huge deal. This is a very important family of headphones in the community. Maybe the most important, arguably. The Sennheiser 600 and HD600, HD650 got so many people started in this hobby.
Yeah.
And they still do get a lot of people started. Then they later released other headphones. Now the latest version, the 660S2, which will also be at CanJam London, is actually my favorite Sennheiser HD600 series headphone because of the bass presence. And so at CanJam London, make sure, definitely do not miss the HD660S2. I think it's the best HD600 series headphone myself. All right, but I'm here to really talk more about this, which is the HD620S. This one, to be clear, does not sound like an HD600 or an HD650 that's been closed. But just as when you listen to the 660S2 and then the 600, they sound different.
Yeah.
But if I asked you or told you that they're of the same family, you would totally not be surprised. In other words, they have a familial sound. And I would say that applies to the 620S as a closed-back headphone. So it images wide for a closed back. This was a priority for them. And I want to be clear, just because one of the things that was mentioned I've seen in comments is it just HD 569 rebadged? Absolutely not.
Right.
Completely different design. Actually, a different build and a different design, different driver, different enclosure. If you looked at the 569 and you took out the driver enclosure, there's actually a sub-enclosure that's very closed in compared to this, where they open up the volume behind the driver and it's a different driver. Completely. So completely different design. And this one definitely, in my opinion, deserves to have that 600 name. So I think this is a very important headphone, kind of a hallmark headphone. First closed back 600 series headphone from Sennheiser. Just, I mean, at CanJam London, that is a definite can't miss. That's to me one of the biggest can't misses. So make sure to give it a listen.
Seminars are a staple at every CanJam, and this year's CanJam London is no exception. We have an incredible lineup of presentations and technical discussions from designers and industry experts that you won't want to miss. Every seminar will take place in the Plaza 12 and 13 suites located on the lower lobby level, one floor above the main exhibit area. Seating will be limited, so make sure you get there a little early to secure a spot.
Our seminar schedule kicks off this year on Saturday, July 20th at 11 a.m. with a talk titled Unlocking the Future of High-Fidelity Wireless Audio from Gary Spittle, CEO of Sonical and Remora Pro. This seminar on lossless audio streaming will discuss the significance and advancements in delivering uncompressed high-fidelity audio. This includes exploring technical challenges, current progress, and future potential. The session will highlight how wireless protocols, in particular ultra-wideband technology, enable streaming of lossless audio with minimal latency, offering a superior listening experience. Insights into ongoing developments and standards will also be shared, emphasizing the impact on premium audio products and the extension into broader market sectors.
Next up, come join Headphones.com's Cameron Oatley, whom many of you may know as Golden Sound, for Myths About Measurements starting at 12 p.m. Objective measurements are everywhere in audio. Never before has so much data been so accessible so easily, but is that a good thing? Join Cameron to learn why measurements shouldn't always be trusted, why we should always take measurements with a sizable grain of salt, why we should never treat them as absolutes, and how objective measurements are often quite subjective. Most importantly, learn about what's being done to address these flaws to achieve better clarity for us all moving forward.
Starting at 2 p.m., come join Professor Hyun-Kook Lee from the University of Huddersfield's Applied Psychoacoustics Lab for Dimensions of Binaural Audio Experience. In recent years, the demand for binaural delivery of multi-channel audio has surged, especially with the advent of Dolby Atmos. The perceived quality of current binaural audio delivery is a hotly debated topic within the audio community. However, when executed effectively, binaural audio has the potential to offer a truly immersive auditory experience. This session will provide an overview of the psychoacoustic principles underpinning binaural audio technologies and discuss various critical factors for achieving realistic and natural sound in binaural reproduction.
Our final Saturday seminar this year will be Digital Isn't at 3 p.m., presented by Rob Watts, digital design consultant for Chord Electronics. Digital is digital, it's all ones and zeros, except that no, it isn't. Beyond the fundamentals of the digital to analog conversion process, there are a host of additional factors that can dramatically affect the sound of your DAC and, consequently, what you will hear through your signal chain. Discover how power supplies, analog devices and circuit design, galvanic isolation, digital cables, and more can dictate your listening experience. But, most importantly, learn how sometimes digital isn't.
Our next round of seminars kicks off on Sunday, July 21st at 11 a.m. when Sonical and Remora Pro CEO Gary Spittle returns for a talk titled The Transformative Potential of Personalized Sound. Explore the transformative potential of personalized sound through advanced audio platforms and operating systems like Sonical's Cosmos. Discover how Cosmos, designed for high-performance ear computers, revolutionizes the listening experience by enabling real-time customization with downloadable plugins. Learn about the evolution of audio products and how this technology caters to diverse auditory preferences, enhancing sound quality and user experiences for audiophiles, professionals, and everyday listeners.
Next up, Rob Watts returns at noon for an interactive discussion called Critical Listening: How to Judge. Many designers use listening tests to improve the design of their products, but since the provenance of recordings are unknown, how can one be sure that genuine improvements are being made so that real progress towards transparent reproduction is being achieved? It is very easy to think that an improvement is actually better when it's worse. Objectively assessing sound quality is key, and this seminar will explain how. This will be followed by a Q&A session when you can ask any question about digital audio.
And finally, closing out the CanJam London seminar lineup this year, Deconi Audio co-founder and COO Tal Kosin will present earpads as critical acoustical devices beginning at 2 p.m. Many headfires view earpads as simple replacement parts and nothing more. And whilst they are undoubtedly consumables, earpads are also coupling devices that form part of the complex acoustic chamber between your headphones and your ears. As such, their mechanical and material properties can dramatically affect what you hear. Join Tal to explore how earpads can preserve or even perfect the sound signatures of your favorite headphones.
Again, each of these seminars will be taking place in the Plaza 12 and 13 suites located on the lower lobby level, one floor above the main exhibit area. And while you're up there, make sure not to miss the gear-packed, quieter listening rooms full of incredible gear from DCS, Hyphonics, and ZMF headphones. We can't wait to see you there. All right, now one of my favorite areas of HeadFi, believe it or not, is sources, because there is such a plethora of option available for us. You can do something with the desktop, you can do something that's portable, you can do a hybrid system that contains both. You can have a different setup for every single room in the house if you really wanted to. And CanJam London, there will be so many options for people to try at the show. I want to highlight a few of them, the ones that we know will be there and that we have experience with that are fantastic.
Yeah, sources and amplification.
Exactly.
And it's one of my favorite categories too, because that's, I think, one of the things that makes HeadFi and CanJam special.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we can use it on the go, like you said, or you can have a very dedicated, use an amp like that back there, or some of these up here.
Right.
That's a dedicated desktop home rig. And I love how we can play in both spaces.
Yeah.
So let's start off with DCS.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to being a UK company,
Yeah.
They're also a show sponsor. So thank you, DCS, for sponsoring CanJam London. We couldn't do it without you. So DCS also, as we say, I think at every CanJam that they're going to be at, has probably, in so many ways, the best exhibit at CanJam.
They do.
Because it's CanJam, so you're never going to get 100% quiet.
Right.
But their room is almost always quieter than the main show floor.
Yeah.
Although they can be pretty popular, so sometimes they get crowded. And within their room, they have sound insulation, like sound deadening materials. And then at each listening station, which is probably the closest thing you're going to get at a CanJam to being at home or at work with a rig.
Right.
At each listening station, they have more sound deadening material. So it's just a great place to chill out and listen. Somehow they're able to wrangle, DCS is able to wrangle like the best headphones.
Every time.
Yeah,
Yep.
every time. The stuff that you're dying to hear, the new stuff that just came out,
Yep.
they almost always have, and I'll say they always have it in their exhibit. So it gives you a chance to audition the DCS gear and the headphones that everybody wants to hear. And of course, you can bring your own headphones too.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about their gear. Let's talk about DCS Lena.
Yes.
We've talked about it before. The funny thing about DCS Lena is it's their most affordable line.
Yeah.
But as headfires go, the price of the DCS Lena system is like at the top, what we consider like ultra high-end pricing.
Right.
But in the two-channel world, the speaker world,
Mm-hmm.
the DCS gear gets up stratospheric.
You can.
But the one thing I want to mention is the firmware 2.0 update. We've talked about it. When it first came out, we kind of went over a lot of the features. I just want to briefly say about firmware 2.0 is it brought a lot of the features to the Lena setup, the Lena systems,
Right.
that their higher-end gear has. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
again, DCS has higher-end gear than Lena. And it brought a lot of the features and even performance closer to their highest-end stuff.
Yep.
And I think that was an exciting development as someone who's been a fan of DCS for, I think I can safely say, decades now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a long time. And the Lena system is actually one of our reference setups here at HeadFi HQ. So don't miss the DCS exhibit. Don't miss the Lena and all the latest headphones that they always manage to wrangle up at their exhibit.
And I want to mention real quickly, they are located one floor above the main exhibit hall.
Yeah.
They're in the Plaza 11 room. So when you're at CanJam in the main exhibit hall, you're going to come out. There's stairs on the left. There's an elevator on the right. Make sure you go up to the Plaza floor to check them out.
The Plaza 11 room won't be the only place to experience incredible gear from DCS, because right next door in Plaza 10, you'll be able to experience the absolute best that DCS has to offer. This year, Hyphonics has teamed up with High End by Oz to design a no-holds-barred rig with DCS's full Vivaldi system, which includes the Vivaldi DAC, Vivaldi upsampler, Vivaldi CD transport, and DCS's legendary Vivaldi master clock, sourced by the flagship Inuo Statement music server. And this already incredible lineup will be played through Viva Audio's new Belva. What is the Belva? It's a 19-watt Class A beast of an amplifier designed to drive your favorite loudspeakers, dynamic headphones, and electrostatics. Yes, even electrostatic headphones. So make sure to stop by Plaza 10 for what might be your once-in-a-lifetime chance to experience this absolutely wild system from Hyphonics and Viva Audio. In their Plaza 10 room, Hyphonics will also have a Moon by SimAudio 681 with a Viva 845 and a DCS Rossini Apex with Viva STX. Hyphonics and High End by Oz are coming fully equipped upstairs in their Plaza 10 room. Hyphonics will also be exhibiting in the main exhibit area, showing a Lampizator Poseidon with the Felix Audio 25th Anniversary Envy, accompanied by Lucas Felix, so I'm looking forward to meeting him. Hyphonics will also be showing Luxury and Precision, Lotu, and Cayenne, among many other brands.
So I guess we're going to go from desktop, ultra high-end digital to what you're holding in your hand, which is obviously not digital at all.
Not digital and highly affordable.
And portable.
And affordable.
Yeah.
This is the FIO CP13. So you can probably tell it's a cassette player.
It is.
It is such a fun little device. We don't see these at all anymore.
Right.
And it adds some really nice quality of life improvements like USB-C charging.
Right.
But it is still fully analog. So if someone has a cassette collection or they want to get into it for the first time, this is a really nice entry point or a really nice way to rekindle an old flame.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to play with.
For our younger audience who have never used cassettes,
Yeah.
when you see the USB-C port,
Yeah.
that is for it is
Only
for charging. It is entirely analog. There is no DAC. So if you're wondering what the DAC chip is, there's no DAC whatsoever.
Exactly.
If you want to know how cassette players work, how that analog tape works, look it up on Google.
Yeah.
I won't try to explain it to you. But that is one of the more fun products we've had at HeadFi in a while. We love the CP13. So let's go from portable analog audio player with the FiiO CP13 to a new, I think this is still their latest portable digital audio player with the FiiO M23.
Yeah.
Love this player. It is such a strong value, flagship performance at kind of more entry-level price. Now, you were just telling me offline that this is kind of their entry level now.
Yeah, so with FiiO model numbers, if you look at the last digit, it tells you where it falls in their line. So the M23 is the entry level for their portable players. For example, the 15 is a step above the 23.
I did not know that.
Yep.
So the M23 uses AKM's flagship DAC.
Yeah.
Which is the AK4191 EQ plus AK4499 EX.
And it's a nice combo.
It's a really nice DAC that is pretty much used only in flagship players.
Yeah.
And here it's in, well, their current entry level, which is pretty incredible. And again, I can't think of anything, we were just talking about this, I can't think of anything that uses that anywhere near the price of this.
Oh, no.
So this is the most affordable by far. It uses a 4-channel THX AAA 78 plus amp. We're big fans of THX AAA here.
Right.
In our measurement lab, we have two AAA 888
Yes.
amps here as our reference amps. One custom built by THX.
Right.
Another one, which was the benchmark HPA4. So the THX AAA 78 plus amp in here, I'm a big fan of. It's dead silent with any IEM, no matter how sensitive.
Right.
Drives any over-ear I'd want to drive reasonably with a portable audio player.
Yep.
Even somewhat unreasonably. And that's up to 1,000 milliwatts output at 32 ohms in desktop mode. Love that. 64 gigs of storage, up to 2 terabytes with micro SD, and a really nice 5.5-inch HD screen.
Yeah, it gets reasonably bright outside. It's very nice and colorful. It's a very nice display.
Yes. So for me, for what you get with the flagship AKM setup, it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
Drives just about anything. Absolutely. FiiO M23, one of my highest recommendations for CanJam London. So now let's go to another FiiO product that's brand new, actually newer than the M23.
Yeah.
Technically, I don't even think it's out yet.
Not technically. It's not released yet.
Okay.
But it's a recent arrival for us. It's the FiiO K11 R2R.
Yeah.
Now, the name may sound familiar because FiiO does have the K11, which is here in the U.S., I think it's $130 or thereabouts. And it's a very compact, very affordable, obviously.
It's a very small form factor desktop component.
Yeah.
DAC amp combo.
Yeah, all in one.
Lovely piece.
And the K11 has 1,400 milliwatts of power. It's got 3 gain settings and actually 3 customizable
volume curves.
Volume
I have
curves,
not
yes.
played with that yet.
It's nice to have that.
Well, that's interesting because you're essentially playing with the taper then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is very nice to
Yeah.
have. I love that customization. I also love that it has USB-C input. And then it does have, for output, you've got RCA, so unbalanced on the rear, and you've got 4.4 millimeter and 6.35 millimeter on the front. So pretty much any of your 2 standard or now standard headphone connections, and then you can connect to other devices if you wanted to.
Right.
But that's the K11.
So it shares all that with the K11.
Yeah, it shares all that with the K11.
Okay.
The R2R is basically spec for spec almost identical, but they
In
take
terms
out
of features.
in terms of features
Yeah.
and even output power.
Okay. Now
But they ditch the DAC inside the K11. And it's a 24-bit R to R DAC inside the K11
that's
R
kind
to
of
R.
a big deal. Yeah.
And we don't know final pricing. It will be more expensive than the K11, but from what I was reading online, it's not going to be that much more.
Right.
So highly affordable R to R system all in one from FiiO, and it sounds lovely.
Yeah, it's a 24-bit R2R DAC, and I was pretty excited about that to see FiiO getting into R2R DACs. For
I am
those
too.
of you who don't know, R2R DACs are, well, there are a lot of, look it up. I'm not going to try to explain it in this little segment, but there are a lot of R2R DAC enthusiasts and a lot of people who are curious about how they sound.
Yeah.
So what a nice entry-level way to do it. And we've been playing with it just before we recorded this.
Yeah.
We actually decided to plug the Susvara Unveiled into it.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I was surprised too. Yeah, given the price of the K11 R2R as we anticipate anyway.
Yeah.
And, well, the obvious price of the Susvara Unveiled. Anyway, so that was fun, and to me that's a can't miss if you're interested in R2R DACs or small form factor DAC amp. Now, we're not done with FiiO yet because their research and development department, their R&D department, must never sleep.
Probably not.
They are constantly releasing exciting, beautifully engineered new products. It seems like they never stop.
Yeah.
And the K19 is still new, and it's I think it's their flagship DAC amp combo.
Yeah, it ends in a 9, so that's the highest you can do in any of their model numbers.
So you understand their model numbers better than anybody I've ever met. I'm convinced you're on their branding committee or something. So it is their flagship DAC amp combo.
Yeah.
And I love this thing. So first of all, let's start with the form factor. It's the tall, vertically oriented one you see there on the desk. And you can also lay it down horizontal, and there's a little screen that will reorient itself for the position you choose. What's inside is also very important, of course.
Yeah.
The DAC is built around the ES9039S Pro. There's 2 of them in there. I think that's ESS's flagship DAC still. It uses the 8-channel THX AAA 788 Plus. We've already talked about how much we love the AAA amps, how we use them in the lab here.
Right.
The one that's in the K19 is a beast.
Oh,
It outputs up to 8,000 milliwatts into 32 ohms in ultra-high gain mode. But here's the thing. As powerful as it is, if you put it in one of its low gain modes, and maybe even if you didn't, but then you wouldn't have the volume flexibility. If you use a really sensitive IEM, I can't think of any IEM that would be likely to draw noise out of this thing where you could hear it. It's that quiet because of the AAA amp, because it's FIO's engineering. Yeah. So to me, this is a very exciting product.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if it was in another preview video or if it was one of our private conversations where I said, to me, the K19 seems like a shot across the bow of some of the other insanely well-measuring DAC amp combos from other companies.
It does.
I think this is FIO's chance. We haven't put it on the bench yet, but it is so beautifully engineered. I think I know what I would find.
All right, Jude, pop quiz time. So FIO has a line of desktop all-in-one systems.
Yeah.
The R series.
Yeah.
Where does the R9 fall?
Because it ends in 9. It's the flagship. Yeah, I get it now. All right.
Yeah. So the R9, I love the R9.
I do too.
I also love the R7. I use that one pretty much daily.
Because I have the R9.
Because you have the R9. But the R9 is fantastic. It is the one you see here. It's got the RGB light going on the front. It's got this really cool metallic gloss mirror shine finish. And it sounds lovely. So this shares actually a lot of similarities with that K19 you were just talking about. So for example, this also has that THX AAA 788 Plus. This one doesn't get quite as much power as the K19 does. This one only does 7.3 watts, so 7,300 milliwatts.
Yeah.
But that's pretty close.
Versus 8,000.
Versus 8,000.
Yeah.
This one does have the ESS ES9038 Pro. And the two of them. Yeah, because it's a dual system. You'll also notice it has a massive screen on the front. It's a beautiful full HD 6-inch screen, and that's basically kind of your control hub for the R9. So you can use it as a standalone desktop player. There's you can use apps, so you can run straight from a streaming service, use FIO's music player. You can also connect it to a computer via USB-C. You can connect it via Bluetooth.
Did you mention it's Rune ready?
It's Rune ready.
Yeah.
It's got network capabilities. It's basically like a kitchen sink player.
Yeah. And you can use it as a desktop standalone, like a portable digital audio player for the desk.
You absolutely can.
Yeah.
Or you can just use it as a dedicated DAC amp combo, which you've done in the past.
Yes.
But I used it kind of as a media control center when I had it at home. Because unlike the R7, the R9 does have HDMI, which is really nice because you can connect it to a bunch of components and systems. So it gives me a little more flexibility. But the R7's a little smaller, a little less powerful, but it just fits better on my desk. And,
fine, I'll let you use the R9 again.
Yeah. I still like the R7, but the R9 is definitely a step up. So it's one that people absolutely have to check out, see it, because the style is fantastic, but the sound is just so very nice.
I agree. I really, really enjoy the R9.
And speaking of the R9, FIO also recently released the FIO SP3BT. Now, the SP3BT is a wireless version of their original SP3, which I think came out last year or so.
Which are small form factor, like desktop loudspeakers.
Yeah. And the SP3BT is same size. It's a 3.5-inch carbon fiber woofer and 1-inch tweeter system. So I think that's a two-way system. And it pairs very nicely with the R9. You look at them and you think, yeah, they're clearly made to be side by side.
They're made to look as a system.
Yeah, so you can use it wired from the R9, one of their mini outputs. It also has USB-C input, and of course it's got wireless input. I think it's Bluetooth 5.0, if I'm not mistaken. And it sounds lovely for a small, compact system that you can just plug pretty much anywhere.
Right.
And, hook up your laptop computer or, run out of the R9 or your favorite system or whatever. It's basically a system in a box ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. So we've used it with the R7. We used it with the R9.
Mm-hmm.
Now Joe has stolen them. They're on his desk pretty much full time. But another cool use case for them is just to keep them in a room. You don't even have to use them with any component like an R9 or R7.
Yeah.
You can just keep them in a room, and then when you walk in, use your phone.
Yeah, exactly.
To stream to them.
Yep.
Right. And that to me is a cool system. So yeah, we might need to get another pair.
And if you're using your phone, they do have an app. So that has a, I think, a parametric equalizer in the app too.
Oh, I haven't tried that yet.
Yeah, I've not used it because Joe's primarily been hogging it, but it's got that EQ functionality. So the SP3BT is one to check out. Honestly, I'd say check out everything at Fio's exhibit. They got dongles, they got headphones that you mentioned earlier. It's definitely worth checking out.
Chord Electronics Hugo 2.
Oh yeah,
How long has this thing been out? It's been out for quite a while.
several years. Yeah,
Several years. And still, if you asked me what my high standard is for portable DACs
Mm-hmm.
or portable DAC amps,
Right.
this is still it.
Yeah.
This is the Chord Hugo 2. Listen, I think most people know all about the Chord Hugo 2. If you haven't listened to it, or if you've kind of needed a new DAC amp lately and you don't already have one, go to Chord Electronics exhibit for sure. You know, we have to mention Chord. They're a UK-based company at CanJam London. So make sure to listen to what is still my reference portable DAC amp combo in the Chord Hugo 2. Also, they also make one of my other reference systems.
Yep.
Also been out for several years, but still a high standard here. Also one of our main reference systems here at HeadFi HQ. That's the Chord Hugo TT2.
Right.
The Chord Hugo TT2 is essentially the desktop sort of sibling of the Hugo 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the Hugo TT2 has 98,304 taps. If you're familiar with Chord's digital audio design, they talk about their taps a lot. Well, we're not going to get into that. Go to Rob Watts' seminar.
Yeah.
I'm sure then you'll learn about them. The Hugo TT2 also is very flexible. The amp outputs 7.3 watts into 8 ohms, 18 watts into 8 ohms, balanced. So it's also dead quiet.
Yeah.
I can plug sensitive IEMs into it. It is, as I've referred to it before, almost like the perfect reviewer's DAC amp combo.
Right.
And it's just a joy to listen to. You want to make it even more of a joy to listen to, pair it with Chord's M scaler, which increases it to over 1 million taps. That is actually an incredible system.
Actually, I have a fun little anecdote about that.
Tell me the anecdote.
I was in Shanghai talking to Rob Watts,
Okay.
and I found out, believe it or not, that there are some headfires that travel with the M scaler paired with their Hugo 2 as a travel rig.
Okay,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Those people are insane. I mean, I am dedicated.
I love this.
I am dedicated to my head-finess.
Yeah.
But that takes it to a level I don't know that I'm even willing to go to. That's hardcore.
But that tells you just how impressive that M scaler is.
That tells you how impressive the M scaler is. So definitely don't miss that. Or even the Chord Dave, which is still their flagship DAC with the M scaler. Now, I will say this, and I'm not saying it'll be there at CanJam London, but talk to Rob if it's not there. At Munich High End, Rob was showing some stuff that's not out yet.
Oh, I think I've heard about
M
this.
scaler related, let's just say.
Yes.
And if they don't have it there at CanJam London, talk to Rob and ask him about it. Because you know what? Here's the thing about Rob, little secret. If you ask him about stuff, he'll tell you almost anything you want to know.
And he'll get technical.
And he'll get really technical. So he'd probably tell you things that maybe Chord doesn't even want you to know yet. But that's anyways, so ask Rob. In one of the recent CanJam preview videos, I lose track of which ones, I talked about this behemoth of a tube amp at the end of the table.
Yeah, CanJam New York.
Was that CanJam New York?
Yeah.
You're so good at keeping track of all that. So that is the ZMF headphones Aegis, and I fell in love with it when we first received it.
Right.
We had to send that first one back.
Yeah, but you've been talking about it since.
I've been talking about it since, and I said we have to get one for the office.
Yeah.
So we have, this one's ours.
Yep.
This beautiful amp is ours, and I love it. So if you haven't figured it out, if you look around me, I love tube amps.
Right.
I'm a tube amp enthusiast. And this is a pure tube amp through and through. There is no silicon in the circuit.
Right.
That's cool. I want to talk really quickly about who designed it.
Yeah.
Because this is a neat story. So the Aegis was built around DIY plans by a community member in the HeadFi community whose name is Lord Gwyn. That's not on his birth certificate.
Oh, so he wasn't knighted as a baby.
he was not knighted as a baby, but his name is Keenan McKnight.
Yeah.
So Keenan designed the plan that became Aegis, and this is a popular discussion topic on HeadFi in the DIY community. And I had seen it, but because I'm not a DIYer, I never really paid that much mind to it until ZMF headphones sent us the Aegis, and then I fell in love because it's everything I want a tube amp to be. I'll get back to that in a second. Let's talk about the tubes that you can use with it, because if you love tube rolling, you're going to love this amp.
Yep.
I actually don't love tube rolling. What I do love doing is finding the tubes that I like the sound combination, the combination of tubes that I like the sound of,
Right.
and then I stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the guy who, once I get something locked in that I really love, that says, I wonder if I can do better than. Once I find something I love, I usually stick with it for as long as those tubes will last.
Yeah.
Anyway, but for the tube rollers, you're going to love this. So for the rectifier, you can use GZ34 5AR4, 5V4 GZ32, 5R4 274B. For the input tubes, you're going to use 6SL7.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it'll take. For the output, you have, again, flexibility. 6V6, 6L6, EL34, EL37, KT66, KT77, KT88, 6550. I love this amp. So just as a tube lover, that is just so much joy to work with.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm still looking for a place to settle in. All right. Again, no silicon in the circuit. It is everything I want a tube amp to be. What does that mean? So if you're not familiar with a great tube amp and what it sounds like, it's music.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds so trite, but that means like it images holographically.
Mm-hmm.
The image objects within the holographic imaging are meaty.
Yeah.
They have flesh and blood, if you will. And that to me is what the Aegis is. So, and we were listening to it actually just before we were shooting this one. We were moving the Susvara Unveiled around from amp to amp.
Right.
And that is one of the amps we tried it in.
Yeah.
It was joyous.
Oh, yeah.
So I love the Aegis. I still have yet to do the tube rolling because we received many different tubes to try it with and adapters to try it with.
Right.
And I will do that. I will find, right now it's heaven with the stock tubes. I think we have 5AR4, 6SL7, and EL34s in it.
Right.
I'm going to experiment with this tube roll and find that thing that I want to lock in on. And we have enough tubes to do that, so I'm looking forward to it. But if you just wanted to know what a tube amp sounds like and why tube enthusiasts are what they are, go to ZMF Headphones exhibit, listen to the Aegis.
Now, I know you love your tube amps, but I want to talk about a solid state amplifier for a second. It's called the ZMF Headphones Homage, so it'll be in the ZMF Headphones room. Now, this is a collaboration piece between JDS Labs and ZMF. And if you think about the two brands, they're both companies that have a focus on excellent sound quality and what I consider understated craftsmanship. So they're very well built and designed, and you don't actually necessarily realize how much work goes into achieving what they come out with at the end. And this amplifier is no exception. So the two came together, and it's kind of like, for me, a peanut butter and jelly combination. The two just match so well.
They go well. They go so well together, so beautifully.
Yeah.
In combination. But it brings together, and I think we talked about this briefly in the other preview video, it brings together like design sensibilities and just product sensibilities that are rather, they're almost quite different in JDS Labs on the one hand,
Yeah.
ZMF on the other. So, for example, the switch.
Yeah, I love the switch.
So there's the switchable 1 ohm and 47 ohm output impedance.
Mm-hmm.
John Siebert, JDS Labs, would absolutely say it should always be 1, is my guess.
Yeah.
Right? But not Zach. See, I would say that switch is definitely more of a ZMF feature.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, no, give them switchables so they can see what they think sounds better with any given headphone or earphone or whatever.
Yep.
And so I love that somehow the two found a way to work together on this beautiful product. I love this homage.
Yeah, and they have the VU meter. That's a very ZMF thing as well.
And I love VU meters.
Yeah, they've got it on the Aegis. They have
2
it
on the
homage.
Aegis,
Yeah.
1 on the homage, yeah.
You've got twice as many as mine does. Yes, yes. All right. But it has 2.2 watts output into 32 ohms. And I think last year at London, they were showing a pre-production version, if I'm not mistaken. So at this year's London, you'll be able to try a full production version. Now, I also want to mention, Zach has mentioned online, I think maybe in person at a couple of CanJams as well, there may be limited edition ZMF homages on the way. So if someone is a collector and trying to get that bespoke finish,
Like with their headphones.
yeah, like with the headphones.
Yeah, because their headphones have crazy collectors. Like the enthusiasts of ZMF headphones will sometimes have several models in different woods of.
Yeah.
Several different woods of the same model.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely a beautiful design work that he has going. I love he has this new clear resin. Oh, it's lovely.
So they're expected to do. Are you saying that they're going to have limited edition, like different woods for the homage?
He's saying that some limited editions are coming.
Okay.
So what I'm definitely going to say is get there and listen to this because you're probably going to want to buy it on the spot.
Yeah.
And then ask him if he happens to have any on hand. I don't know if he's going to be bringing any of those. I
Not
hope
sure
he
either.
does. I really hope he does.
No, we've already talked about in the headphone section what I think is maybe the most significant new product launch right now is the Hi-Fi Man Susvara Unveiled,
Right.
which is their flagship non-electrostatic headphone. But I want to talk about Hi-Fi Man's amps here.
Yep.
Their DAC amps. Let's start with the Hi-Fi Man EF500.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the EF500, I guess, I'm just going to quickly say what it is and then talk about it vis-a-vis the Unveiled. So it's a DAC amp combo. It's the one standing vertically next to the FIO K19 here. It outputs 4.5 watts into 32 ohms, and it has Hi-Fi Man's Himalaya R2R DAC architecture.
Right.
And Hi-Fi Man is very serious about their R2R DAC architecture. They've been working on it for many years. This uses the Himalaya LE, and it is with the when you listen to the Susvara Unveiled on it, you can't help but think that somehow they were meant to play together.
Yeah.
It's for the person, to me, here's what the EF500 is, because it's affordable.
Yeah, it is. Highly.
Okay, here's what it is. It's for the guy who bought the Susvara Unveiled, reached into his pocket or looked at his credit card statement, realized, I don't think I have much more room here. I need something to drive it with.
Yeah.
The EF500 and the Susvara Unveiled make a beautiful system.
Yeah.
So that's what the EF500 is. All kidding aside, if you're looking for an affordable DAC amp combo, if you're an R2R DAC enthusiast or curious about R2R DACs and how they sound, the EF500 is an absolute have to check it out.
Yeah. They also have that EF499, which is more affordable than the 500.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a Himalaya DAC in it. Spec-wise, they're kind of close.
Yeah, I think it's a Philips R2R DAC. So it's still an R2R DAC. And you're saving a little bit of money.
I would still go with 500.
If you can swing it,
yeah,
go for the EF500.
Yeah.
But if it gets down to that price difference is enough to kind of sway you, and you still want to go R2R DAC, you're looking for a nice DAC amp combo that's affordable, then check out the EF499. That should also be at Hi-Fi Man's exhibit.
Right.
Now, I also want to talk about, of course, I have to, in the context of the Susvara Unveiled, talk about their flagship DAC amp combo.
I mean, these two were made for each other.
The first time I heard the Susvara Unveiled was on the EF1000 DAC at Munich High End.
Right.
The EF1000 DAC uses 4 Hi-Fi Man Himalaya Pro R2R DACs. This is currently the highest realization of Hi-Fi Man's Himalaya R2R DAC architecture. This is the pinnacle right now. The amp outputs 13.7 watts into 32 ohms, so it's a pretty beefy amp. And it has a step potentiometer, which I dig. You know, I've talked about it before. It's a beautiful amp, DAC amp combo. It really is their flagship. It is expensive.
It is.
But oh my gosh, listen to that with the Susvara Unveiled.
Yeah.
That to me is so good. That's one of the systems that, you know, we have a Sennheiser HE1 here. That's my reference and probably will be for quite some time. We have other beautiful systems like with Stax headphones here, electrostatic headphones. We have Focal Utopia, you know, all these incredible systems that we find sort of high references for here, like different combos.
Right.
There's no question in my mind. The Susvara Unveiled is going to do that with several different amps. But with the EF1000 DAC, I mean, that is definitely one of them. Like, that is world-class, price no object, and it is price no object at that point, performance. So, at Hi-Fi Man's exhibit, if you want to hear something that for us, because we have an EF1000 DAC here, we don't have it on the table here.
It's so big.
It was so big, and we needed to fit all these other things on it. Yeah, if you want to hear something that I think is just pinnacle-type stuff, that combo is insane. Yeah. So Hi-Fi Man's exhibit, CanJam London, absolute can't miss combo. And if you can't do the EF1000 DAC, I get it. Try the EF500. Much more affordable. But if you can swing it, or at least just listen to that flagship combo. Astell&Kern has been absolutely killing it lately.
Oh, yeah, they have.
So they've had some cool collaborations, like their IEMs with Visioneers, Campfire Audio,
Empire Ears.
Yep. And then, of course, what they're most known for, their portable digital audio players, and they've been absolutely killing it there with these models lately. This here, as you know, as maybe I've said before, is maybe my favorite portable digital audio player of all time.
Right.
This is the Astell&Kern SP3000T. The reason I love it, T stands for tubes. I've already said I'm a tube audio enthusiast. And this sounds the most like a high-end tube audio system, like for a desktop.
Yeah.
That you can hold in your hand.
Right.
So there have been a lot of other portable electronics that use tubes in their
Yeah.
circuit, most commonly Korg new tubes.
Right.
Astell&kern used those with the SP2000T.
Mm-hmm.
For the SP3000T, they're using dual Raytheon Jan 6418 mil-spec vintage tubes. You can see them lit up on the back of the player here.
Yep.
And I think it has to be those tubes that are where some of that magic, if not all of that magic, is when you're in pure tube mode.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I say pure tube mode because you can go to op-amp mode, so solid state,
Yep.
tube mode, or hybridize it, changing the balance in between the two. So more tube or more solid state or right down the middle. And it happens in real time when you change it so you can hear the difference.
Yeah.
When you put it in pure tube mode, you'll understand why I love it. So as I said earlier when we were talking about tubes, what do I love about a good tube amp sound?
Mm-hmm.
Holographic image, like very lifelike image objects within that holographic imaging, harmonic richness, and it's all there. This is, again, of any of the portable electronics I've heard that incorporate tubes, this is the most tube audio sounding one I've heard yet. So that's why I'm excited about it. Guess I should talk about the stuff that's not tubes in it because it has AKM's flagship DAC setup.
Mm-hmm.
That's the AK4191 EQ plus AK4499EX DAC setup, which is their flagship DAC setup from AKM. It uses a Snapdragon 6125 octa-core processor and 8 gigs of DDR4 memory. That's twice the amount of RAM commonly used in DAPs. So why would I mention any of those things? Because it means it's fast. It's really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's very responsive. When you're scrolling, it's fast. When you're typing, it's fast. And we're used to that with high-end
Cell phones.
smartphones.
Yeah.
But not with DAPs, really.
Not generally.
A lot of DAPs are slow.
Yeah.
So this is not. So it's fast and responsive. Sounds like a tube amp system I can hold in my hand. Can you imagine? I mean, this is why it's special, right? You can use IEMs
Right.
with this in tube mode
Mm-hmm.
and have a tube sounding system with IEMs like we've not been able to do previously, at least in my experience, or switch to solid state. It's up to you.
Yeah.
With over ears and in ears, whatever you want to do, it's there for you to play with, and I love it. So yes, if you want to hear my favorite DAP, maybe of all time, go to astell&kern's exhibit at CanJam London and listen to the SP3000T for sure. I also want to quickly talk about the Con Ultra. The Con line has been a fun one from Astell&Kern since the first model.
It has.
This is the latest model, the Astell&Kern Con Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
I think the philosophy with Con has been kind of like desktop system.
Yeah,
that you
pretty
can-
much.
That you can take on the go. It's usually bigger in size. Like this is a bit larger than any of the other players.
Mhm.
And it also sits nicely on a desk. It also has something they call triple output mode. So they have separately configured circuit and amplifier design. So you see the pre and line output,
Mm-hmm.
balanced and single-ended, and the headphone output are separate.
Right.
So again, kind of like a desktop system. The volume knob is huge
Mm-hmm.
and beautifully machined and feels like something more from a desktop component.
It does.
Like a high-end desktop component. So I love that. And then, of course, it has, when you take it on the go, a big honking battery.
Yep.
I
think it's 8,400 milliamp hours, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so 8,400 milliamp hours, and even with its output, up to 11 hours of playback.
Yeah.
And did I mention the output? It's up to 16 volts RMS
Yeah, it's massive.
of output. So yeah, this thing, again, it's supposed to be kind of a desktop player on the go,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a joy to use and to hold, especially, and listen to. So don't miss the Astell&Kern Con Ultra at CanJam London.
Now, Astell&Kern has been working on something entirely different. They've been working on a whole new brand. So people may know the name Activo from a couple of products that have come out in the past, but they were primarily limited release, limited availability, collaboration pieces. I think pretty much only in Japan.
Yeah, limited market.
Yeah. But this is the Activo P1. It is the first product from the Activo line that will be available globally. So it's an Astell&Kern sub-brand. So it's Astell&Kern through and through. There's a lot of Astell&Kern touches inside and around this player. So one of the first key features that I want to point out is the Teraton system of Astell&Kern's that's also available in this as in their other players. So the Teraton Alpha, in their words, is Astell&Kern's ultimate sound solution to produce audio playback that is close to the original sound through the use of effective power noise removal, efficient power consumption, and amplification without compromise through the audio output interface. Now, you'll find that in some of their flagship players. It's also available here in what is now their most affordable player. Here in the U.S., it launches this month, and I believe it's $430.
Yeah, that's super affordable.
Highly affordable. It's the most
Especially
affordable.
for Astell&Kern.
Exactly. It's the most affordable one you can buy. So this comes with a 4.1-inch screen. It has a dual ESS ES9219Q DAC system inside. It has an octa-core processor, so they don't tell us which one it is. It's not like the Snapdragon that you'll find in the 3000T, and I think it has a little bit less memory, but it still feels very nice and responsive, especially given the price point. 64 gigs of memory with a micro SD expansion, but it has Bluetooth 5.3 with a really cool feature, which is two-way Bluetooth control. So you can pair this with your phone, pair it with a computer, and you can send information to this and then play for your headphone output if you wanted to. And I actually did. That's one of the first ways that I hooked it up when it arrived. I also want to mention that it has 20 hours of runtime, up to 20 hours of runtime. So very, very nice. And because it supports Quick Charge 3.0, that means in about an hour and a half, you have a full charge from dead. Very, very nice system. Now, sound-wise, this is actually impressive.
Yeah, I think so too.
Not even just for the price. I think it's an impressive sounding piece, period.
Same here. I heard it first at not CanJam, Munich High End.
Yeah.
And they showed me, that the P1.
Yeah.
That was the first time I'd heard of it, seen it, and was super impressed by the sound when they told me the price.
Yeah.
Because as astell&kern players go, that is extremely affordable.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, I knew what to expect for the price when this arrived, so I decided to grab a very budget-friendly IEM that I think is going to be turning a lot of heads at CanJam this year. That's the Meza Audio Alba.
Oh, yeah.
And if you think about it, those two together here in the U.S., that's under $600.
Yeah, that's extremely affordable as a
For
system.
combo system, yeah.
And they match kind of, right?
They do kind of,
In
yeah.
color,
yeah.
like in theme.
Because this is white and silver, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like that kind of like creamy or eggy. Yeah, very, very, very light.
Right.
Very light color.
With silver as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to point out one thing that I thought was kind of strange at first. It's got this dual elevation system on the back, so it's a little more lifted to the top like you might see on a mobile phone camera. And at first I kind of found that strange, but the more that I handle this and the more that I use it, I find it's a perfect resting point for my finger. So it's funny because the thing that kind of stood out as weird to me at first ended up being one of my it's like, oh, I really appreciate that. It's very easy to keep a grip on it. And they say that this is designed for a more active lifestyle. So being able to maintain a good grip is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's lightweight, it's got rounded edges, and with that 20-hour battery life, you can pop it in your pocket, go out for exercise, or just go around town and not have to worry about any kind of battery issues.
Yeah, it's also very compact.
It really is.
Yeah.
So definitely stop by and check this out because this is the first line in the Activo series for the global launch. I don't think it'll be the last.
So that's the Activo P1. It'll be
Activo
at
P1.
astell&kern's exhibit.
Yeah. Electromod will be showing the latest releases from Topping, including the all-new Topping D53 desktop DAC and A53 headphone amplifier. The D53 is built around dual ESS ES9039 Q2M DACs with a newly designed IV conversion circuit for lower noise and distortion, Bluetooth 5.1 connectivity with LDAC, a dual USB Type-C interface for separate power and USB audio, and more. Electromod will have it paired with the Topping A53 headphone amplifier, which can deliver up to 3,500 milliwatts per channel. It has 3 gain settings which can be toggled to match your favorite headphones via its 6.35mm and 4.4mm headphone jacks. And just like the previous generations of the A50, the A53 utilizes Topping's nested feedback composite amplifier modules. For many of us, this will be the first chance we've had to try Topping's D53 and A53 together, so join me in auditioning both at Electromod's exhibit.
Now, this is a funny little amp.
Yes, it is.
But it's a beautiful sounding amp.
Yeah.
It's the mass-kobo Model 475. I've talked about it in several preview videos already.
Right.
Because I'm so excited about it. Mass-kobo is a company. They're from Japan. I never thought when I first saw them at the Fujiya AVIC show in Tokyo many years ago, I would never have imagined that they would have exhibited at one of our CanJams
Right.
many years later. Because there are a lot of little-known brands outside of Japan at the Fujiya AVIC show.
Yeah.
That kind of are specific to Japan.
Yes.
I just imagined that mass-kobo, which had a cult following there, would be one of those brands. And then they came to CanJam, and people are learning about them. And so the 465, which is their desktop flagship amp, is the one I think most people know mass-kobo for.
Right.
The thing is, it's quite expensive, generally outside of my budget. So this is the 475, which is their least expensive amp, one I can afford.
Right.
And when I heard it, I heard things about it that reminded me of the 465. Of course, it's not going to be able to drive all the headphones that a 465 can drive. But with IEMs, yeah, beautiful sounding amp. So it's a funny little amp.
It
in
is.
that it runs on batteries.
Yep.
4 AA batteries. It doesn't have a charging circuit, so you have to charge the batteries outside if you use rechargeable batteries, which I'd actually recommend for the flat discharge curve. But it's rated for 2.3 volts from its balanced output. That's 2.3 volts RMS, 1.2 volts from its unbalanced with 32 ohms loaded, 1 kilohertz at THD of 0.5%. I haven't measured it. I just listened to it.
Yeah.
And love the way it sounds. So when you go to mass-kobo's exhibit at CanJam London, you're going to be distracted by their big, beautiful desktop amp that everybody loves.
Yep.
There's going to be this little one off to the side somewhere. Don't miss the 475, because if you can't afford the 465, you can still get mass-kobo magic for something. This still isn't inexpensive for what it is, but it is, I would say, modestly priced, certainly for mass-kobo, and I'm so excited they'll be at CanJam London. And now we come to IEMs, which for the last many CanJam preview videos has been the longest section in each of those videos. And I think that's a reflection of how big, dynamic, and exciting this category has become within our world of HeadFi.
It really is.
So at CanJam, there are so many IEMs to listen to.
Yep.
And we are going to go over some of them here, just a sampling of them. So we should probably get to them. So let's start with Campfire Audio, who, by the way, is one of the show sponsors of CanJam London. So thank you so much, Campfire Audio, for sponsoring CanJam London. We cannot put these shows on without our show sponsors. All right, let's start with the Campfire Audio Moonrover.
Yes.
This is still pretty much a brand spanking new model.
Yeah.
We first talked about it in the CanJam Shanghai preview. I actually first heard it and saw it at Munich High End,
right,
a little bit before CanJam Shanghai. I will say the first time I saw them, I fell in love with the way they looked. And I don't normally care about how my IEMs look.
Yeah.
But they're made of titanium.
Yes.
And you and I love titanium.
We do.
Between the two of us, we have titanium everything.
Yeah.
Titanium cases, titanium handled knives.
Key rings, watches, everything.
We're both actually watching.
Oh, yeah, we are wearing ours.
I'm wearing watches. Yeah, titanium watches. So anyway, I love the way they look, but they did something to the titanium that I wish more of our accessories had, which is flame bluing.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize if you hit titanium with flame the right way, blue explodes from it.
Beautifully.
Beautifully. And so these are gorgeous, and they're hand done, so no two pairs are going to look exactly alike. There's also a steel spout with black PVD finish. Don't really care so much about that because you don't really see them. We put ear tips on them.
Right.
But you do see the gold-plated tri-lobe screws.
Yeah, it's a nice accent.
It's a beautiful accent, a beautiful contrast to that blued titanium. All right, let's talk about what's inside. That's the most important thing. How does it sound? What's inside? Right. Inside each earpiece is a full-range 12-millimeter planar magnetic driver. I found that very interesting. Right? Because planar magnetic in an in-ear is always compelling to me.
Yes.
And I've heard several different models with planar magnetic drivers. And just like IEMs in general, they can be all over the place in terms of the tuning the manufacturer chooses. I was excited in this case that Campfire Audio chose what I'd call a neutral-ish, resolving, linear type sound signature.
Right.
So I dig it.
Yeah.
In fact, their description says Moonrover features one of Campfire's most neutral analytical sound signatures of our current lineup. From low to high, its response is incredibly linear and well balanced. And I actually agree with that. I think you do too.
I do.
Now, I want to say, though, because it says analytical, for some people, when they hear the word analytical, it evokes like sharp, strident, and it's not sharp, strident. But it is resolving. That's what they meant, I think, by analytical.
Yes.
They also say Moonrover is a beautiful synthesis of Campfire's past, present, and future. I thought that was an interesting statement. We talked about this a little bit in the CanJam Shanghai preview because I actually like that statement. You hear some of the Campfire pieces, like, for example, I heard the Trifecta.
Right.
And the first time I heard the Trifecta, it didn't remind me of any other Campfire product, right? It had its own thing going.
Exactly.
But this one, when I heard it, you know, I was hearing things that reminded me of the Andromeda, like the original Andromeda 2020 as well, and the Solaris.
Yeah.
And yet it's its own thing. And again, like I said, it's more neutral-ish.
Right.
And very balanced, very linear. So very excited about these. It is, I should say, a limited edition.
Yes. I think they're only making 888, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 888 of them. So if you listen to them and you love them, or even if you're just interested in them and you see them online, if you're not going to be at the show, but if you're going to be at the show and you want these, probably a great time to try to pick them up.
Right.
Because they're a limited edition. So definitely don't miss the Campfire Audio Moonrover at CanJam London.
And it's not just the Moonrover they need to be checking out at CanJam London, because Campfire Audio is also bringing the Fathom. Now, we've talked about the Fathom in the past couple of CanJam preview videos.
Yeah.
I think CanJam New York was the first time they were showing it publicly, but it's one that fell straight within my wheelhouse, and I fell in love right away.
Same here.
It's a 6BA driver IEM, and it has dual custom high-definition super tweeters, 2 mid-range drivers, and dual custom BA woofers. And this is one of those things where it's not an easy task to make a BA sound like it has non-balanced armature bass.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a nice job with this, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a BA, but it does still maintain that BA level of control that I really appreciate in an all BA design.
I agree.
It's a wonderful sounding piece. The chassis is machined aluminum, so they've done this machined aluminum on a couple of their other in-ears, and it always comes out fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
They changed the design for this one compared to some of their past models, and I think it actually fits better than some of their previous models have fit in my ears. So definitely check it out if you've had fit issues with some of their larger fits in the past. It has a black anodized bright dip finish, which it's one of those things that's kind of difficult to capture in photos. So when people are checking this out in person, this finish is going to just, catch them right away.
Yeah.
And it has a prismatic rainbow PVD stainless steel fastener and MMCX system. So this is another one of those things where no two are alike.
Yeah.
But it's got this really nice multi-tonal, multicolored PVD system. It's a beautiful piece.
It is beautiful. It reminds me of almost like of oil. Like, when you
kinda
see like
does,
the
yeah.
color in oil slicks and things like that, and
Yeah.
it captures the light really. There's sometimes when you move it around, that part of it looks that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. If you pick it up with the premium package, it comes with 2 of their, what are they called, time stream cables.
Mm-hmm.
So you have options for 3.5 and 4.4 millimeter. And then it also comes with a really nice folded, they call it the dimension folding leather case.
Yeah.
So all in all, it's very well accessorized. Oh, that case also has that PVD, like a carabiner on there as well, which is just a nice touch.
That is a very nice touch.
But like I was saying, for CanJam New York, we had this in the studio, and it was my main companion during the photographing of all the new gear that's coming in. Pop this in. It was one of the earlier arrivals for us, and it just stayed with me through a lot of the listening.
It sure did. You and I remember that you absolutely fell for it immediately.
I did right away.
Yeah. Was
So-
CanJam New York the first time we heard it?
Yeah, CanJam New York. So I imagine that in addition to the Moon Rover, the Campfire Audio Fathom is going to be a must-hear.
So CanJam London 2024 this year
Mhm.
kind of represents my 1-year anniversary with Canper.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I have
Yep.
to explain that. So what I mean is, that's when I first heard of them.
Yep.
So prior to CanJam London 2023,
Mhm.
I don't think I'd ever heard at Camper.
I had not.
And then they show up at CanJam London. They have by far the most modest exhibit there.
Well, I think that's partly due to the fact that either their signage was lost or held up
Right.
in customs, one of the two.
Yeah.
So they didn't really have much to put on display.
Yeah, so what they had to do is, I think if I recall correctly, they just printed on paper with the
Yeah.
information.
Yes.
So it was the least visually striking exhibit there.
It was.
I think a lot of people ended up walking by it, myself included.
I did
Guilty as
too.
charged. You did too.
Yep.
And so it's like the end of the show. And I realize here's this exhibit I not even noticed.
Yeah.
And I sit down and say, what can I listen to? What should I listen to?
Mhm.
And they let me listen to what you're holding there, which is the Canper CP622B. I think that's still their flagship.
It is.
I'm not going to lie, I didn't have really high expectations. I figured if a company made something that good, maybe I'd heard of them by now, right?
Right.
I listened to the CP622B. I'm blown away.
Mhm.
I realize at this moment I'm listening to what was probably at that time, and still is, actually, one of the best sounding in-ears I'd ever heard at any price.
Yeah.
So I'm listening to this going, this is incredible. So it's the end of the show. I see Cameron, Golden Sound,
Mhm.
well-known reviewer, and I flag him down. I'm like, Cameron, have you heard these yet? He's like, no. I said, give these a listen. So he comes over and he
Yeah.
goes and listens. And he's a pretty popular reviewer. He's listening to him. He looks at me with, like these are really good. Of course, now a crowd starts building around Cameron.
Yep.
And people are listening to the CP622B. It's at the end of the show.
Right.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Canper. Like, we couldn't. I wish I could have done this at the middle of the show or something.
Mhm.
But anyway, so now they got a crowd building at the end of the show to listen to the CP622B. Let's talk about what's in these things, because they
Yes.
are so good.
They are.
So it's a 10-driver tribrid, 6 Sonian balanced armatures, 2 Sonian electrostatic drivers,
Mhm.
2 Sonian bone conduction drivers. And those bone conduction drivers, they supplement the mid and mid-high frequencies,
Yes.
which at the time I think was the first IEM I'd heard with mid-range bone conduction drivers.
Right.
And the mid-range is magical on those.
Yeah, it is.
That's where a lot of that magic is. And it images beautifully.
It does.
Anyway, still one of the best IEMs I've ever heard. So this is a can't miss at CanJam London. It's my 1-year anniversary with the CP622Bs. They are that good.
Right.
Don't miss them at CanJam London. So I'm not done with Camper. So I'm going to fast forward from last year's CanJam London to CanJam Singapore this year.
Right.
Camper exhibits there.
Yeah.
And they pull me aside to listen to this, which is the Camper CP74E.
Yes.
Absolutely love these two. Camper is just on fire right now.
They are.
And so I listened to these, and then I searched for them later because I didn't have them yet, and so I searched for them later on my computer, and I can't find anything about them. So I'm like, I realized that's why they pulled me aside to listen to them, because apparently they were like secret at the time. So I listened to these, and I was absolutely wowed by these as well. In fact, they reminded me a lot of the CP622B in many ways, like clearly of the family. So let's talk about what it is. It's an 11 driver hybrid. 7 balanced armature drivers, 4 EST, electrostatic drivers per side.
Yeah.
And they say it's part of Camper's performance series. They describe it as reference sound achieving ultimate balance in all respects. Okay, I can give them that. Unlike the CP622B, there is no bone conduction driver.
Right.
Now, the thing about it is, that's probably where that difference lies for me.
I think so.
Because they sound to me very much like siblings. I actually think some people will prefer these to the CP622B.
Sure, I can see that, yeah.
Many will prefer the CP622B to these. It's that close.
Yeah, there are other headphone examples that I can think of like that too. For example, Dan Clark Audio has the E3 and the Stealth.
Yeah.
So they're definitely familial.
Yeah.
And then one is a higher tier. So the Stealth is more expensive. The CP622B is more expensive. The E3 for Dan Clark Audio is more affordable, but there are people that prefer the E3 sound. This is a more affordable sibling to the CP622B. And there might be plenty of people that are actually going to go towards that rather than towards this one.
Good analogy, Brian. Actually, that is a very good analogy. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
In the case, Now, in this case, though, I think it's going to be tighter than it is with the E3 and Stealth.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. Because to me, these sound closer to each other to my ears than the E3 and the Stealth do, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it'll be tighter for most people listening to both, where I think with the E3 Stealth comparison, you're going to like one or the other more.
Yes.
It's going to be clear. With these, I could see people bouncing between them going, oh, I'm having a hard time deciding.
Yeah.
But they sound of a family, unquestionably. When you listen to the 74Es and then the 622Bs, you will know they're related.
Yeah.
It's just a question of which one you'll like more. I'm going to be curious to know what people think. So do not miss the Camper CP74E. Definitely compare it to the CP622B. They have a lot of other models as well, or several other models.
Yeah.
So make sure to listen to those. But these are the two that I have the most experience with, and they're phenomenal.
All right, now I want to tell a story for a second. It's also a 1-year anniversary for me with this in-ear. This is the Sounds Flame. Now, mine's a little more embarrassing of a story, I'll admit. So at CanJam London last year, I was going around at the end of the show, and I stopped by the Sounds exhibit to give them a listen, and I was chatting with the team there, and they were going over the different models, and we talked briefly about this one, which is the Flame, and they were saying that this is one of the most popular models, probably the most popular model in their lineup. So I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot and give it a listen. Popped it in my ears. And right out of the gate, I thought, this is a nice sound, but it's not quite for me. It's a bit, for my taste, there was a little bit too much low-end presence, a little too much low-end emphasis. So took it off thinking, that sounds good. I'm sure it's great for a lot of people. Well, I probably should have talked with them for a little bit longer because there's a switch on here that changes the low end. So now that we have it here in studio, I was actually reading the material and I go, oh, I wish at CanJam London last year I had known about this because I didn't ask.
Right.
And immediately toggled the switch, listened to it, and I thought, okay, this is well more within my wheelhouse now. So it's bringing it down to a level that I actually prefer, and it's a lovely sounding piece.
It is.
So I want to mention that it is an 8 balanced armature driver design with 4 BAs for the bass and low mids. The bass woofers are developed by Sonian. It has 2 BAs for the upper mids and 2 BAs for the highs. It's actually a very thick design with a 1.4 millimeter shell. But that toggle that I was talking about, that switch, they call it immersive mode. So they describe it as toggling between a neutral or elevated bass presentation. So you can guess which one I heard at the show and which one actually clicked with me.
He doesn't much care for bass emphasis. So.
Not as much, yeah. So that neutral switch side, oh, very, very nice. I'm much happier with that than what my first impressions were. They also have what's called Flex Fit Pro. Now, this is something I think is really cool. It's only on a custom. But it basically is a special material at the edge of the tip that after some time with the body heat warms up, can form so it's more comfortable and gets potentially a better seal. So I'm very curious to hear more about that because I don't know, I could see myself getting a custom
Sure.
if I get that, that perfect fit, especially if it's going to be something that might change as the body kind of shifts throughout the day. Or
Westone actually
Yeah.
offered, I don't know if they still do, a tip that did that. It was heat sensitive. When you put it in.
very
it would
similar
go-
idea.
Yeah, I love that because it made for a forgiving fit.
Yeah.
And so, that's actually still a lovely feature on my Westone custom that I have that has that. So
Yeah.
that's nice. I have a little mini story about that as well.
Oh, really?
It involves Cameron.
Okay.
Again. Yeah, so actually it was before I told him about the Camper CP622B.
Yeah.
He came up to me and said, "Have you heard the sounds,
Mm-hmm.
the 1 second from the flagship down?"
Right.
I'm not going to try his accent. I'm going to mangle it. And I said, no, I haven't. Sounds. He said, yeah, the guy's from Greece. Yeah, so Sounds is from Greece.
Yeah.
Yasu Sounds. Anyways, so I have a lot of Greek friends. So I said, no, I haven't heard it. So I walk over to Sounds, listen to the one. I asked to listen to the 1 second down from the flagship. I believe it would be that one then.
Yep.
And so good.
Yeah, it's
So,
fantastic.
yeah.
Now, I was also chatting with the Sounds guys over email, and they gave me a couple sneak peeks of a new faceplate, a limited edition finish for this that they're coming out with. It's called the Sounds Flame Tiger Edition.
Oh.
Now, the Tiger Edition is a 3D gold-plated silver faceplate with real rubies, and the images that I've seen so far, the images look fantastic. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those ones that ends up being striking in person, because I can think of a couple in-ears that I've seen in the past with a 3D design that's actually made out of metal, and they usually look gorgeous, so I really want to see it in person. And they did say that is also available in custom or universal, but is limited. So if you're interested in checking that out, definitely get there early, because I think that one could sell out pretty quick.
So now we get to the Meza Audio Alba,
Right.
which is the latest IEM from Meza Audio.
Mm-hmm.
They're my favorite IEMs ever from Meza Audio.
Yeah.
So I first heard them at CanJam Singapore, which was, how long ago was that?
About 3.5 months ago, I think.
Yeah, and I'm still as excited about these as the first time I heard them.
Yeah.
So they asked me to listen to these at CanJam Singapore, and they didn't tell me anything about them. I didn't even know they existed until I sat down at their exhibit at the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then they asked me to guess the price. That's always a tricky one, right? But
Right.
for this one, I guessed a lot higher. I didn't think it was that tricky. Anyways, sorry about the U.S. pricing, guys, but this is what we know. We're from the U.S. So what they came in at, and when they told me the price, which was within that range, I couldn't believe it. They actually came in at the lower end of the range they told me. $160 USD.
Yeah.
All right. Incredible.
It is.
And you get a USB-C dongle deck with it.
Yeah, which is nice because you think about things like smartphones. A lot of devices don't come with headphone jacks. So you basically have compatibility out of the box, even if you don't already own a dedicated source.
Yeah, that's very groovy.
Yeah.
So I do think that's very nice that they do that. But it's not that USB-C dongle deck, of course, that means much to me with, in the big scheme of things with the Alba. It's the sound.
Yes.
So let's talk about what it is. Single 10.8 millimeter dynamic driver per side, premium zinc alloy chassis, anodized aluminum parts, pearl color that almost looks kind of automotive-ish.
It does, yeah.
Like an automotive paint scheme, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So even at $160, they haven't broken the streak of making very beautiful to look at things.
Yeah, it feels like it fits well within their line of other in-ears as far as build and design go.
All right, let's talk about that build and design, by the way,
Yeah.
and other in-ears. It's my favorite of all their in-ears.
Yeah.
I think I already said that. And why is because of how it sounds.
Right.
So I prefer the sound of these to any in-ears they've released previously and to many other in-ears that are much more expensive from other companies as well.
Right.
Because they're, I would say, very squarely in the neutral range.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this is another one of those in-ears that, however affordable, could still be used in a professional setting.
Right.
I can say that very confidently.
Yes.
So a very affordable, high quality, beautifully built studio type in-ear monitor.
Yeah.
So beautiful for that. And from an engineering standpoint, they knocked it out of the park.
They did.
And not just at the price. So it's incredible at the price.
Mm-hmm.
So we did the DACs testing. I mentioned this in the CanJam Shanghai preview video. It killed.
Yeah.
It did extremely well. 4.9 in mean opinion score timbre, which includes frequency response among many other things.
Mm-hmm.
An overall score of 4.9, and both of those are out of 5.
Yeah.
So they performed extremely well. Then we put it on the audio precision analyzer. Very low distortion.
Right.
So again, beautifully engineered, regardless of the price, which happens to be low. So these are a big deal.
Yeah, they are.
And I think, as I said in the CanJam Shanghai preview, and I still feel the same, I still think this is one of the most important new product launches I said that for CanJam Shanghai. I'm
Yeah.
saying it again for CanJam London, unquestionably. So do not, whatever you do not miss the Meza Audio Alba at the Meza Audio exhibit at CanJam London.
All right, now many people know the name Pentacon, and we first heard about it about a decade ago. So if you think back about the past 10 years, they've really come a far way because they're involved in so many cables nowadays for desktop use, for portable use, the 4.4 millimeter standard.
That's what people think about.
That's what people think about.
4.4 millimeter balanced plug.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
Pentacon makes more than just that connector. They make the connector on the ear side, so you can connect your cables to your in-ears. A couple of companies like Elysian Acoustic Labs, for example, use that on their models.
They do.
They also make aftermarket ear tips and cables, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but they also manufacture in-ear monitors. So this is the Pentacon Sine Alpha 01, and it's a single 10.2 millimeter dynamic driver. Now that 10.2 millimeter dynamic driver delivers a sound that to me is a bit different than what I expected out of the box. Generally, when I first think of a dynamic, my immediate guess before I hear anything is it might be a little bit thicker, it might be a little bit richer down low, it might have a little more oomph in the low
Okay,
end.
I will agree with you there because if I don't hear an in-ear and I know it's a single dynamic driver, I'm going to assume probably on average, just based on my experience, that it might be more likely to be richer sounding.
Yeah, generally that's my first thought.
And that's not the case with
This is not that.
No.
So this has a really nice, very extended low end.
Yeah.
And you could potentially call it reference. Like
I would describe the bass as perceived flat to me, to my
There you go,
ears, and very extended.
Mhm.
So it has impact, but it is not emphasized.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that single dynamic driver also does a fantastic job in vocals. So whether you're listening to male or female, I think they sound fantastic.
Super articulate.
They are.
Yeah.
And this is a highly resolving, highly revealing, highly detailed piece. So I will say that I have a couple of tracks that I listen to on a regular basis where this actually has a little bit too much energy in some tracks in that range. And if I switch to something that's a little more chill or more laid back or more atmospheric.
In the treble.
In the treble, yes, exactly. It's a fantastic pairing to listen to those kinds of tracks with this. So we were talking about the driver. I also want to mention that 10.2 millimeter driver is an LCD dome, liquid silicon edge, N55 grade neodymium magnet that generates up to 1.4 Tesla. So that's a lot of force.
Yes.
And it comes in a CNC brass housing. It looks silver because it's a platinum coating. And then the cable that you see with it is a 6N OFC 4-core silver-coated copper wire, of course using Pentacon on both sides. And the device termination side I appreciate is a 45 or 90-degree angle.
Right.
So I always like when that's angled because it just fits better for portable use.
So I want to say about the Signature, for my tastes, I've really enjoyed listening to these.
Yeah.
And I typically like a little bass emphasis, but for some reason I'm still enjoying these, even though I would say these are more perceived flat.
Yeah.
The treble is definitely on the high side of my preferences, the high side of my preferences, but boy, is it articulate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of resolution happening.
It is.
So resolving ability for the price, I think, is fantastic. That said, I tried tip rolling. Now, of course, at Pentacon's exhibit, they're going to have the Carrere tips.
Right, which is what comes with it.
That's their ear tips.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar with Carrere tips, they're sticky silicone tips with, and the real key thing about them is they have a metal sound bore.
Yes.
And it comes in two different metals. You can get it in brass or you can get it in aluminum.
Yeah.
This has the aluminum sound bore,
Correct.
Carrere's. These are very expensive ear tips. Actually, if you're an ear tip aficionado, and there are a lot of those in our community, you already know the Carrere's are probably among the most expensive ear tips. It comes with 4 sets in 4 different sizes, so it's nice.
Yeah, and we should also mention anybody bringing their own in-ears can try the Carrere tips at their exhibit.
Yeah,
too.
so you can try with your in-ears the Carrere tips.
Yeah.
So we should definitely mention that.
Yeah.
But if you want to tip roll, the Sine Alpha 01s, I'm guessing that's what they'll have is the Carrere's.
Probably,
because it's Pentacon. But bring your own tips and see if they'll let you tip roll those. So what I arrived at for me so far is the final E-type. I've only just started listening to it with those, but it took the treble down a bit.
Okay.
Now I have to decide which I prefer. I'm guessing it might be the finals, right? Sorry, Pentagon, but the Carrere's, I think you'll prefer the Carrere's.
I feel like for probably most of the tracks that I listen to on a regular basis is more going to be towards the Carrere side.
Yeah, so that'll be very interesting to see what people think when they try it. But this is an absolute must audition in-ear to me. It was a surprise to me. It's very articulate. For the price, a lot of resolution. At the Sennheiser exhibit, I'm going to focus on, for IEMs, the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4.
Right.
The True Wireless segment is just so immensely important to consumers and to many headfires. But headfires are audiophiles.
Yes.
And so a lot of the consumer True Wireless IEMs may not suit their their audiophile sensibilities
Right.
and tastes. Because for me, for example, for some of the mass market in-ears that are immensely popular, I use them mostly for talking on the phone and listening to podcasts.
Exactly the same.
And I never listen to music through any of the really popular mass market true wireless.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? I do listen to music through true wirelessly.
Yep.
The Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4 is one of my 2 favorite true wireless models. The other one is by Hi-Fi Man, which we'll talk about in the Hi-Fi Man exhibit. But this has some key improvements that only push it further into audiophile territory.
Mm-hmm.
I should mention it's a single dynamic driver per side.
Right.
It has now support for Qualcomm aptX lossless.
Which is very nice.
Yes, very important for the head-fi type.
Yep.
Adaptive noise cancellation.
Always appreciated.
Yes, I agree. And again, I think for consumers, they demand these kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Good noise canceling, good outgoing voice, and it has a 6 mic system for outgoing voice.
And for dialogue, that's a must.
Yeah, I'm on the phone a lot, almost every day, on Zoom calls every day. So I'm always talking to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important for me. So again, it has all the things I think that would satisfy consumers, but with an audiophile sound signature. These are true wireless earphones I actually listen to music through.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. 7.5 hours of runtime, 30 with charging case, 1 hour of play with an 8-minute charge if you run out of battery completely.
Mm-hmm.
Comes in 3 different colors: white, silver, black graphite, black copper.
We got the best one.
We've got the best one, black copper.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic color. So this is an important in-ear. It's an audiophile class, true wireless in-ear. I don't EQ it. You still EQ a little bit.
I still EQ a little bass out.
You take a little bass out. I don't have to EQ it. And there aren't a lot of true wireless in-ears that I would say that about. And this is one of the ones I don't EQ.
Yeah.
So I am thrilled with these. Make sure not to miss the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4. But they will also have, of course, wired in-ears.
Yeah.
Like their flagship Sennheiser IE900. I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but you must listen to those if you haven't already. It's one of our reference in-ears, so much so because we both want to carry them a lot that we had to get 2 pairs.
Yeah.
One for you, one for me. So don't miss the Sennheiser IE900. We did a whole review of the IE900, a whole video review dedicated to them where we talk about how they sound, of course, about frequency response targets,
engineering,
measurements, measurement comparisons. So look for that video on the IE900 if you haven't already seen it. If we do say so ourselves, I think that was a good video, and I think you guys would enjoy it. But don't miss their wired IEMs either at Sennheiser's exhibit.
Now, you just mentioned briefly the Hi-Fi Man's Phonar Wireless, and this is it. And this is another piece that you and I do listen to for true wireless music listening.
Yes.
It sounds fantastic. We'll get to that in a minute. But one of the reasons why it does sound fantastic is Hi-Fi Man's approach to how they designed it. And they designed it with an R2R DAC inside. So this has, we talked about it earlier, the Hi-Fi Man Himalaya DAC. This is the flagship of the Phonar Wireless family, so it has the full-fledged Himalaya R2R. And they have a younger sibling called the Phonar Wireless LE. Now, I've been unable to try it at a number of CanJams just due to time constraints, and I finally got to hear it at CanJam Shanghai a few weeks ago. And I have to say, here in the US, I think it's a $200 difference between those two models. They're closer than I expected.
Yeah.
So if you're in a situation where you want to hear a fantastic true wireless system, but you can't afford to jump to a flagship, and you want to try Hi-Fi Man's R2R DACs, that Himalaya LE is a great place to come in.
Yes.
So the Phonar Wireless LE has that Himalaya LE, which is it's not as high end as the full-fledged Himalaya.
So the Himalaya LE is an R2R DAC, I believe.
Yes, it is.
But it's not as high end in implementation as in the flagship Phonar Wireless.
Yeah. So in my opinion, if you can stretch and get the full flagship, I definitely recommend it. Also, this does have a bit more premium fit and finish as well.
Yes, it does.
Now, in addition to that R2R, it does have a fantastic battery life for a true wireless system. It has 7 hours of runtime and 28 hours with a recharge, and that's true for both models.
Yeah.
Sound-wise, this is a fantastic sounding piece. I love the detail and resolution that this offers, and because it can't be EQ'd, it works so well for me that right out of the box, I love the way it presents the
So
audio.
let's talk about the sound signature because like you mentioned, there's no app, so you can't EQ it.
Yeah.
The sound signature is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That sound signature to my ears, as true wireless earphones goes, definitely on the neutral side.
Yes.
And I would say not as rich and smooth in tone as the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless.
Right.
More resolving.
Mm-hmm.
So on the treble side, I would say it's kind of approaching the higher part of my range. For you, it's probably right down the middle.
That is perfectly comfortable for me, right?
So, but it doesn't cross any limits for me.
Yeah.
And it is unquestionably the flagship one, which is the one I have most experience with, is unquestionably the most resolving true wireless in-ear we've heard.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard, and I think you agree.
Yeah.
And because we have here at Head-Fi HQ, I mean, I can't say we have all of them, but we have many of the high-end models here.
We do.
Many at Head-Fi HQ, and that is unquestionably the most resolving. Did measurements of it as well. Did the MDEX
assessment
of
we
it,
did.
and it killed.
Yeah.
I mean, it really almost could not have done better. And so I'll show it if I can pull that data up. And so, yeah, to me, that is a can't miss model because, again, the true wireless segment is becoming increasingly important. But for audiophiles who want something to listen to music through dedicatedly, there are only a couple models that I use, and that is the top for me right now.
Hi-Fi Man and Sennheiser won't be the only stops for those searching for a new true wireless IEM. Electromod will be showing Moondrop's Space Travel True Wireless System. At first glance, you'll immediately take note of its sci-fi inspired charging case with USB Type-C, but the best parts are all found inside. Its 13mm enhanced dynamic driver with a titanium dome composite diaphragm is tunable with a bass control switch to deliver 3 different voicings called monitor, reference, and basshead. Monitor will absolutely be my first choice when I get a chance to listen. The Space Travel also features active noise cancellation, a vocal band optimized transparency mode, touch controls, and even a 55 millisecond low latency mode for gaming. And the price? Yeah, that may be its most out of this world feature. I don't know its price across the pond, but here in the US it's only $25. Yes, you heard me correctly, $25 US. So come join me in checking out the Moondrop Space Travel at Electromod's exhibit. Now, this is an in-ear that was new to me. It comes from Imminent Ears, and Imminent Ears is a new company out of Hong Kong.
Yeah, I think they'll be new to everybody for the most part.
Yeah, I think they launched within the past year, so it might be the first time anybody's actually seeing this in London. But this is the Ruby, and the first time our community had a chance to hear the Ruby was at CanJam Singapore earlier this year. Now, I wasn't in Singapore, so I didn't get to try it there, but thankfully they sent it to us ahead of CanJam London to give it a try. And I do think that this is going to be a piece that will connect with a lot of attendees.
I think a lot of people are going to dig the Ruby.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So real quick, I want to mention what's inside of this. It's a 9-driver tri-brid design. It has a single 10mm dynamic driver for the low end. It has 4 BAs, and that's 2 Knowles BA for the mid-range and 2 custom-made BA for the high-end arrangement. And it has 4 electrostatic drivers for the ultra-high. One thing that did surprise me, though, is when I was unboxing it to take photographs, I didn't expect to see a Vortex Cables cable in there, but when you think about it, they're both from Hong Kong, so that kind of makes sense.
Right.
And it's nice to see that because Vortex is a company that's newer to us here, primarily in the West, but they're not a new company.
No.
So it's nice to see them working with Imminent Ears on this.
I agree. Actually, just on the Vortex Cables, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but let's just say there's a lot of cable experience on that team.
There is.
At Vortex Cables. So at CanJam Singapore, where I was, I happened to be there. Anak Chan, who's a head fire, that's his username, real name Sean, good friend of mine. He chased me down to ask what I thought of the Ruby. I had no idea what he was talking about. He was talking about the Eminent Ears Ruby. So he dragged me down to their exhibit, said, you really need to audition these. Gave him a listen because he was so enthusiastic about them, and I understood right away why he loved them so much. The sound signature on those is beautiful.
Yeah.
And they definitely are within my wheelhouse, my preferences.
I can see that.
Yeah, and I would describe it as there's a lushness, there's a richness and an impactfulness to the bass, which I really dig. I would say some emphasis there for sure.
There is.
And I know that you tend to prefer more flat type bass.
I do.
More linear type bass. But still, great bass resolution and nice impact. So whatever that, I'm not sure, you said a 10mm dynamic driver.
Yeah.
Doing a beautiful job. The electrostatic tweeters, 4 of them in there, you said, what I love about how they tuned it is, to my ears anyway, they're not overcooked at all.
Right.
I've heard some designs where they can really be present, maybe sometimes overly so, and this, absolutely not the case. So they get resolution out of them, but somehow, to me, the treble is still smooth. Like, the overall signature is still smooth.
It definitely is.
Resolving, but smooth. And, that's one of those things I think a lot of the companies are going after. And Eminent Ears, I think, hit it with the Ruby. So well within my wheelhouse. I think a lot of the people are going to dig it. I am wearing my water cooler badge.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the water cooler team is going to totally dig this. And it's so new that even the water cooler guys who tend to be up on all the latest things, maybe there are a lot of them who still haven't heard this. That's how new it is. So they should definitely check it out because they tend to like things with some impact.
They do.
Yeah. So the Eminent Ears Ruby, that's an absolute can't miss at CanJam London. So now we get to Fat Freak. I'm going to tell a quick story. I promise I'll try to keep it as quick as possible.
Right.
Now, I like to tell stories, and when it comes to head-fi stories, one of my favorite kind to tell are community stories.
Yeah.
So this is a community story, sort of, and this goes to CanJam Singapore 2016, which is our first one. And one of the first people, if not the first person I met from the Singapore head-fi community, was a guy named Yo.
All right.
So you know Yo.
Yes.
And super enthusiastic.
Mhm.
Loves talking about audio.
He does.
Always smiling. Well, Yo now works for Fat Freak.
Hmm?
And Yo and I have a tradition from the very first CanJam. We take a picture together by the CanJam sign.
Yep.
We have another tradition now. Now that he works for Fat Freak, every CanJam he tries to get me to listen
Mm-hmm.
to a Fat Freak bass cannon model. So
Right.
they're known for their bass emphasized models. They have other signatures, but where they're following seems to be heaviest is with the bass cannon.
It definitely
IEMs.
is, yeah.
Yes. And like the water cooler guys, I think,
Yeah.
dig the Fat Freak bass cannon bass cannon models.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I have not found any that I loved
Right.
until these. So I've found many I like.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, these are good, but it's still a little bit much. But when I heard the Grand Maestro, which I'm holding here, this I think is their flagship.
I believe so.
Mission accomplished, Yo. He knows that, though. I think it was either CanJam Singapore or last one or Shanghai.
Yeah.
He knew it. When he put these in, I listened to him, and he saw my response. I loved these. So this is the flagship.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tribrid design. I don't think they usually talk about the specific drivers in them, though, do they?
They don't give a driver count.
They don't give a driver count.
Yeah.
But this has dynamic BA and EST.
Yes, we
So-
do know
So
that.
that much we know.
Yeah.
And it has their bass cannon technology. It has something called Vox Boost
Mhm.
switch. You switch it on, and it brings enhanced clarity and presence to the vocals.
Yeah.
I will say it now. I always like them on.
Mm-hmm.
So I there's never a time I've so far preferred off to on. So Vox Boost on.
Yeah.
So then the other thing it has is NOAA pressure modules.
Yeah.
And those you can change out. So here I have a very big one that I'll talk about in a second. I think you had it when you handed it to me. It had the black module installed.
Yeah, I think they call it the power module, and
Okay.
I put that in there first because I thought that might be a fun one for you to try out.
Yeah, that one seems to be designed to concentrate sub-bass power for more slam.
Yes.
There's a blue one
Mhm.
called the
The-
control module.
Yeah, control.
And that's to focus more on rumble.
Exactly.
And then this is the super stage module.
Mhm.
I love it with the super stage module.
Yeah.
So I've been listening mostly with the black module.
Mhm.
And this has a tonal balance that to me sounds quite similar to the black module. But the super stage module widens the sound stage. That's its intent, and it works.
Right.
And yet it maintains, at least to my ears, essentially the tonal balance of the black module.
Mm-hmm.
So love it. Why do I love these so much? There's something called equal loudness contours.
Or Fletcher Munson.
Or Fletcher Munson,
Yeah.
which is the first one. But there's updated now equal loudness contours.
Mhm.
Long story short, at quieter levels, we're not as sensitive to bass or high highs.
Yes.
With these, at low volume levels, which is I like to listen as low as I reasonably can,
Mm-hmm.
so much bass, power, and texture,
Mm-hmm.
even at low volumes, without muddying up the mids at all.
Yeah.
So I love them for that. And even when I turn it up, it sounds like a properly implemented subwoofer, clearly with emphasis.
Yeah.
Unquestionably with emphasis. Now, for you don't much care for bass emphasis.
Not generally.
You
no.
tend to listen to bass that's more lean, even.
Yes.
I'd say on the leaner side of neutral, or even leaner sometimes.
Yeah.
So I understand that you probably don't dig on the bass emphasis at all, and this has some solid bass
It
emphasis.
does. Yep.
But those ESTs and the treble, I bet you like that.
That's nice, actually.
Yes. So the Fat Freak Grand Maestro, I will just say to Fat Freak and to my friend Yo, who works at Fat Freak, mission accomplished. You finally made a bass cannon model that I love. I think a lot of people are going to love this one.
Oh, no doubt.
So Fat Freak Grand Maestro at CanJam London, don't miss it.
Now, Linsoul's joining us for CanJam London. It's wonderful to see them back because their exhibit is one of those that always have a crowd standing right around. And for good reason, they have a number of fantastic brands that they're showing. So, for example, they have the audio. And we have the Monarch Mark II. So they have an updated version of that called the Monarch Mark III, which I haven't heard yet.
I haven't heard it either.
Yeah, but it's going to be there. They also have an updated version of the Prestige called the Prestige Limited,
which I also
So
haven't heard yet.
We have the old Prestige, so that's nice to see if they're going to have that. But they're also going to have other products from Kiwi Ears, Simgot, and 7 Hertz. And it's the one that's in your hand, the Kiwi Ears Singolo, that I think is going to be the biggest draw. Now, one of the reasons I think it's going to be a huge draw is one of the names that's attached to it. So that's a collaboration piece they did with Critical.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fantastic collaboration.
So Critical is, I don't even think I need to say this. I think everybody knows he's probably the most popular reviewer in our community.
Yeah, that's a very safe statement, I think.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of collaboration pieces, and I think this is his latest or one of his latest pieces with Kiwi Ears.
Yeah.
And earlier in the year, I had a chance at an industry event to talk to him quite a bit about this very model,
Mm-hmm.
and he was telling me how hard they had worked to get the bass tuned exactly where they wanted it.
Right.
So this is tuned to Crinical's tonal signature. There's an 8 dB sub-bass shelf for powerful yet pristine bass, complemented by a neutral mid-range and clean treble.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely accurate description. Now, with all the talk that I had with him about the bass and how they... I want to talk actually about what he was telling me about the Helmholtz resonator.
Yeah.
So they have something in it called the Kiwi Acoustic Resonance System. It's a Helmholtz resonator to regulate its tuning as opposed to resistor-capacitor networks. It's a labyrinthine tubing network, a discrete bandpass filter that manipulates airflow to the driver. You can see it from the outside. And for all the engineering they put into this thing, I think its U.S. price is like $79.
Yeah, very affordable.
Incredibly affordable.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything in that price range just off the top of my head that I would say those are what you want, over these.
Yeah. There's only a couple things in the sub $100 bracket that I would even consider.
And I would call these neutral. So anyways, what I was trying to say was with all the talk that I had with him about bass and bass shelves, I thought it was going to be bass emphasized, but I should have known better because his own target is IEF neutral target, I think is what it's called.
Right.
Is definitely what I would call on the, neutral, flat sort of perceived bass signature. And this meets it. Great extension, great impact, but not emphasized.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, this is a very neutral-ish sounding in-ear for sure.
Right.
Actually, probably bass-wise, right where you would like it.
It is, which surprises me when we talk about an 8 dB shelf. I thought, oh, that's probably going to be too much.
Yeah, I guess 8
It's
dB
not.
relative to, maybe the lowest part.
Mm-hmm.
But it uses a custom LCP diaphragm driver. So it's crafted with a custom 11mm dynamic driver and Japanese liquid crystal polymer diaphragm.
Mm-hmm. So
it's a single dynamic driver per side then.
Yeah.
$79 US. Don't know the UK price. This is going to be a huge hit.
Yes.
I will say try different tip rolling because for some people they're saying, getting it to fit, can be a little challenging. For me, I've solved it with a couple of different tips and it hasn't been an issue at all for me. But try different tips with it at Lynn Soul's exhibit. But it's going to be popular just for the price. I mean, $79. Again, I don't know what the UK price is, but why not?
Yeah, exactly.
Right at that point, just why not?
Yeah. So we're holding a couple of pairs of in-ears from Canera.
Yeah.
And I'm holding the Canera Imperial Loki, which I think maybe the first one you've heard, wasn't it?
No. First Canera I heard was in 2000, first CanJam Shanghai, 2018. The Canera.
Oh, the Odin.
The Canera Odin was the first one.
I haven't heard that in so long, I forgot about it.
Yeah. So I don't even know if it's a current model still. Maybe it is.
I don't know.
But let's talk about the ones we have in our hands.
Yeah.
You are holding the Canera Imperial Loki.
Correct.
That is their current flagship.
Yes.
And that is a 12-driver quad brid, 6 Knowles BAs, 4 Sonian ESTs, 1 dynamic driver, 1 bone conduction driver, a custom bone conduction driver from Canera. 4 different types of ear tips. Which is nuts. That are actually worth mentioning because they're 4 premium aftermarket ear tips.
Yes.
Asla Sedna Ear Fit Crystal, Final Type E, Spin Fit CP40 145, and Symbio F Foam. These are all ear tips we love, actually.
Yeah, that's a fantastic loadout.
Yeah. And then it comes with the UPOCC pure copper cable from Effect Audio. So even as flagships go, that is one heck of a package.
It's well equipped.
Very well equipped. And they're hand painted. All right, we'll talk about that in a second, maybe.
Actually, you mentioned the hand painting.
Yeah.
I just saw a video recently.
Yeah.
So I want to mention this real quick. It's kind of nuts how the detail goes into building these. So like you said, it's hand painted and it's hand lacquered. If there's any kind of accent, like on the one you're holding, we'll show some nice shots, but that's hand applied.
Yeah.
All of this is hand done. The build is nuts, especially given the price points.
The build is nuts and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about the build in a second, but let's talk really quickly about the Imperial Verdandi. I'm glad you mentioned that. The build quality is important.
Yeah.
You're going to understand why in a second. So the Imperial Verdandi is a lot less expensive than the flagship Imperial Loki.
Yep.
All right, here's the thing. I prefer these, even independent of price. So I prefer the Imperial Verdandis. In fact, for the price, which I don't know what the UK price is, but it's like $1,200 US here.
Yeah.
Even at that price, probably one of my new favorites. Because tonally, it hits like right through the middle of my preference range, I feel like, when I listen to it. But with this nice impact from what I'm guessing is coming from that custom bone conduction driver.
I would imagine,
yeah. Oh, I guess I should say what the drivers are. So 6-driver quad brid in the Imperial Verdandi here. 2 Knowles BAs, 2 Sonian ESTs, 1 dynamic driver, 1 bone conduction driver. Want to talk quickly about that custom bone conduction driver because you mentioned the build quality. Both of these are built beautifully, but here's a little caveat. When you go to Canera's exhibit, you're going to pick up some of their in-ear models. And even though you see that they're solidly built and they feel solidly built, you might flick it and then it like rings almost like it's hollow.
That's true. Yep.
And so you
it
might
is
think
surprising.
it's hollow and it's not hollow.
Yeah.
That is a resonance you're getting from the custom Canera bone conduction driver.
Right.
So those ones that do that are from that they have that driver in it. And that driver, I think, is giving the impact that I'm feeling that I love that's not making it bloated. It's impact without bloat. There's texture going on. So I'm really loving the Imperial Verdandis. And again, I prefer the tonal balance, which I find more neutral than the Lokis. And I love also the treble detail. And without having overcooked those ESTs at all, it's just a beautiful textured signature from bass to treble, well executed. All right, this also comes with 4 different types of ear tips.
Right.
Azla Sedna ear fit crystal, final type E. Doesn't have the spin fits or the symbios, but it does come with Canera KO7s and 1 pair of foam, non-symbio foam ear tips. And it comes with a monocrystalline copper plus high purity 4N silver cable from Flash Acoustics.
Which is nice to see.
Yeah, Flash Acoustics is they're becoming more and more popular as an aftermarket cable maker.
They are.
We use their flagship cables, couple of their flagship models in some of our reference in-ears here at Head-Fi HQ. So it's exciting to see that they have a Flash Acoustics cable made for the Verdandi. So to me, again, even at its price, I prefer it to the flagship Loki. I think that's going to be a split opinion. Some will prefer the Loki. Some will prefer the Verdandi. For me, this is probably one of my favorites at the price point for sure. So do not miss Canera's exhibit. Listen to both of these and all of their models. I said earlier how I think IEMs are getting better and better.
Yeah.
And so if I'm right, and I think I am, then the values should be getting better and better.
They are.
And this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is the Let's Sure S08. And I don't know what the price will be in the UK, but here in the US, I've seen a couple different prices. One is the retail price, one's the sale price.
Yeah.
Even at the retail price, very good value.
I agree.
Very affordable.
Yep.
At the sale price,
oh, it's excellent.
Ridiculous value. Okay, so let's talk about what it is. It is a planar magnetic IEM, 4th generation, 13 millimeter planar magnetic driver, dual voice coil diaphragm, and something they call nanoscopic magnetron sputtering process. Now, I'm not sure exactly what that is. Maybe I need to see a diagram.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, pretend I know exactly what it is, and we just don't have time to talk about it right now. So it also has CNC precision milled anodized aluminum shell.
Aluminum.
Available in black or silver. This is the black one. We also have the silver one. I wish we would have been holding that up too. Silver-plated copper cable, multiple ear tip voicing. So there's balanced and vocal ear tip choices. I think I've been using mostly the balanced one.
Yeah.
Now, as far as its sound signature goes, as a planar magnetic IEM, it is a very good planar magnetic IEM.
Right.
And I can't ignore the price either. So it's really strong for that price. But it has characteristics you want from a planar magnetic driver and that you'd expect, a certain amount of linearity, resolution, and I would call it resolving enough. Certainly at its price, resolving.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would say its tonal balance is definitely on the smooth side. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean smooth, non-fatiguing, easy to listen to for a long time.
Yeah.
And I love that about it. There are other products that I would describe that way that I love, like the first Meza Audio Empyrean.
Oh, right.
The over-ear planar magnetic headphone.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. This doesn't sound like a Meza Empyrean.
True.
In an IEM version. I'm just saying that those characteristics, that fatigue-free yet resolving characteristic, again, that I'm getting any of that for the price here is pretty incredible. So to me, the Let's Sure S08 is an absolute can't miss.
Right.
Like you have to listen to this for the price.
Yeah, you do.
And if what I described, this fatigue-free, resolving signature, is something that sounds interesting to you, yeah, don't miss it. Now, I don't know the rest of Let's Sure's line, so I'm not sure what else they'll have there.
Well, they do have a dongle DAC that I want to check out. I think it's the DT03, if I'm not mistaken.
We're in the IEM section.
That's true.
Fine, I'll let you get away with that. Dongle DAC. So they'll have a dongle DAC. What is it called?
DT03, I believe.
DT03.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they have other IEMs that I'm just not familiar with.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see, for the price of this, I'd like to see if they have anything, higher up in the line, like what they're offering value-wise there.
Right.
Anyway, so I won't miss Let's Sure's exhibit, and, well, you shouldn't either. I think the first time we talked about this, the FA19, was the CanJam Singapore preview video earlier this year.
I think so, yeah.
I think that's the very first time we talked about it. And it just occurred to me that we should probably mention to everybody, this is the FIO segment now. So it's the FIO FA19, like they know necessarily what an FA19 is. So the FIO FA19, as I said in the CanJam Singapore preview, is, and I still feel the same way, is a super significant IEM, a very important IEM
Right.
Because it's the best IEM, in my opinion, and I think you agree, that FIO's ever released.
Yes.
But even just as important, no matter, even if you're a total IEM snob, only the best for me, like one of those guys. Even if you're one of those guys, you must listen to the FIO FA19 before you move on and make a decision. All right, let's talk about what it is. It's 10 balanced armatures per side. Let me make sure I get the count right. All right. It's custom Knowles compound base balanced armature times 2. So that's 4 base drivers.
Right.
2 Knowles BAs for the mids. And Knowles SWFK compound treble balanced armature times 2. So a total of 4 treble BAs. Did I get them all this time?
Yeah.
All right. So that's 10 drivers per side. Now, the way they've engineered them together, the way they tuned them all together, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And they've done it, I guess you could say, twice.
They did.
Because, and this is also significant, there is a switch that allows you to choose 2 different settings.
Right.
The first is called monitor mode. Here at the office, it's called Brian mode.
That is Brian mode.
Yeah. To make the sound clear and get great extension in the treble is how they describe it. And in that mode, I would describe it as neutral with treble that goes a little higher than my midline of my preference, but still well within my range.
Yep.
And then for you, it's probably right at midline for your preference.
It's straight over the plate,
straight
right down the middle.
Okay. And then the bass in that tuning is, I would say, for me, a little lower than my midline for neutral, but still well within the range. So like a very linear sounding sort of flat neutral, perceived neutral bass.
Yeah.
Agreed?
I agree.
All right. So that switch affects, I think, only the bass.
Yeah, from memory, I think it's only the bass.
And the next mode is hi-fi mode, or Jude mode here at the office. And FIO's description, I love it. Customer can get more bass.
Yeah.
But what it does is when you change the bass, you change the entire tonal balance, of course. And what happens is it actually, to me, of course, gives it richness, but in doing so also, for me, kind of smooths out the treble a little bit. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, on balance.
On balance, it kind of seems to put it now right near the middle of, closer to the middle of my preference range.
Right.
All right, either way, I can listen to both signatures happily. I will take hi-fi mode, you will take monitor mode if you had to choose one.
Yeah.
And again, the significance, best IEM they've ever made, in my opinion. Best sounding by far. Images beautifully, great resolution. Honestly, fantastic IEM. Do not miss it no matter what price point you're shopping at FIO's exhibit. So now we have another FIO flagship IEM.
Yes.
This one so new that it's actually making its debut at CanJam London. I know they wanted to show it at CanJam Shanghai.
Yeah, I believe they were trying to get it done in time, and they just weren't quite finished. So CanJam London is the first place people get to sample it.
So this is the first place.
Yeah.
You get to hear it first.
Yeah.
So at CanJam London, the FH19, it's their hybrid. So you taught me earlier the naming convention for FIO that I literally did not know until you walked me through it.
Yep.
The FH19 then would, of course, be the next generation hybrid flagship IEM that replaces the FH9.
Correct.
Boom. So it's a flagship 8-driver hybrid IEM, push-pull dual dynamic drivers, 6 custom Knowles BA drivers, pure titanium plus 7 series aerospace aluminum composite metal housing.
Which is lovely.
That is beautiful.
Oh, it's stunning.
It's a stunning chassis. And I believe on Headfi's forums, it might have even been James from FIO.
Yeah.
Someone from FIO, I remember saying something about the design intending to be more masculine in appearance.
Okay, so it's handsome.
So it's yes, so it's handsome. It is actually handsome.
It is
literally from every angle. It's
really
a gorgeous IEM.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, a handsome IEM. And Rubicon audiophile grade film capacitor crossover. When it comes to their flagship stuff, they choose very high end components inside.
They do.
For all their stuff, they do at every price point, but at the flagship stuff, they go nuts.
Yeah.
And it has something they call levitated voice coil. No idea what that means. So I'm gonna have to ask someone at FIO at CanJam London. Let's talk about its sound signature.
Yes.
Because the FIO FH9 that it replaces, we don't have one here.
Right.
So I think I've only heard that at the shows like once or twice. I seem to recall it, though, being not bright per se, but at the top end of my treble preference for sure, as I recall it, and also rich sounding. I think this is also supposed to be a refinement of the FH9 sound signature with the FH19. Okay, I know that's kind of hard to go on oral memory like that, but I'm doing my best. The FH19, to me, the treble is definitely not bright. So it's smooth and refined,
right,
but with a little sparkle.
There is.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Bass, rich. Not thick.
No.
Not for me anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe for you, bordering.
I wouldn't call it thick, but it is richer than I would generally go for.
Lower mid's also rich.
Yes.
But the rest of the mids I would describe as just kind of linear. And the whole thing, easy to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
Fatigue-free and easy to listen to. And resolving.
Yeah.
It images lovely, too.
It does.
So, I am a fan of this IEM. Probably more than you are because it probably fits in my signature preference more.
Yep.
And if you're an FH9 fan or you have an FH9, definitely give it a listen.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's in your price range, or even if it's not, definitely give it a listen. The FH19, again, it's awesome that it's making its debut at CanJam London.
All right, now we've talked about two flagships, but I want to take a second to talk about something in their dynamic line, kind of towards the middle of the pack. This is the FD15. So it's a single driver dynamic. It's an 8.6 millimeter large voice coil, and this can generate, with their magnet system inside, 1.5 Tesla. So it has a lot of force behind it.
Actually, you can see, which I showed in one of the previous videos.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah, the earpieces are stuck together because the magnets
they do not separate.
Yeah,
easily.
they're that strong.
Yeah. And it has an aluminum magnesium alloy DLC gasket diaphragm with a W-shaped independent gasket design. It also has FIO's Tesla valve, which is a base loading acoustic patent technology. And the chassis we were talking about, how it kind of holds together, that's made out of 316L stainless steel. Now, this has a 480 wire Furukawa monocrystalline copper silver blended headphone cable, and it's got one of those swappable terminations, which is always nice to have. Now, for a lot of people, a single driver dynamic is, for some, the end game. That's exactly what they want. They want that well designed, coherent sound signature that you can get from a single driver. And there are a number of single drivers that we've already talked about that sound very nice. This is another must audition. So it's going to be, for my preferences, a bit thick on the low end, but it still has a very nice, lovely sound signature. And one of the things that I do love about dynamics is just that bass texture that they can actually achieve. This is one of those things that pulls that off very well.
Yeah, some people they even use the term like, oh, I love dynamic bass.
Yeah,
like in a
bass.
hybrid, a hybrid that is not hybrid. That's an all, single dynamic per side.
Yeah.
And I think I described it as neutral-ish when we first talked about it, but it's like a rich neutral.
For your neutral, yeah.
Like a rich neutral.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I think we did an MDAX. I'm doing it from memory. I think it had a 4.8 on the Moss, the mean opinion score timbre.
I recall it was nice, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I don't remember. I think the overall was like 4.6. So it scored extremely well.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know when we first talked about it was the price, which is actually very affordable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely make sure to check out the FD15 as well. Now, as you know, and as probably most of the people watching this know, there's a very popular thread on the Head5 forums called the water cooler thread.
Right.
The people in the water cooler thread love to cable roll. That is, they like to use a bunch of different cables from a bunch of different companies and roll them or try them, change them with different IEMs and headphones mostly. Mm-hmm. And since reading the water cooler thread dedicatedly for about over a year now, I think I've done more cable rolling than I've ever done in my life as an audiophile. And I've been an audiophile for a long time,
right?
Because I'm old. But I decided, because here at Head5 HQ we have a bunch of cables.
We do.
From a handful of manufacturers.
Yes.
So I decided recently to try some other manufacturers that we hadn't tried before. Mm-hmm. Tried Arctic Cables.
Right.
And been enjoying using their cables in various systems we have.
But we should mention they're not going to be there.
They're not going to be there. So Arctic Cables will not be there.
Right.
And tried them with my IEMs and have been enjoying my use of the Arctic Cables. So a new cable company for us.
Mm-hmm.
But they won't be at CanJam London. But one company that will be is Viking Weave Cables.
Right.
Viking Weave Cables will be at CanJam London. And while their cables are new to me in terms of using them with IEMs that we have, I've been talking to Sebastian Kedra because I'd run into him. He's the founder of Viking Weave Cables at various audio shows, including Munich High End, I believe also our own CanJam shows. And he is a super passionate builder of these cables.
Right.
And talking to him about how he builds them, the design, the philosophy. Mm-hmm. Just this cable, this Bifrost is gorgeous. I love the titanium hardware on it, and he'll even talk to you about how he makes that.
Yeah.
All right. He sent 6 different cables for us to try ahead of CanJam London. I went right for the top. Because we didn't have time to try all 6 cables. I wish we did. I went right for the top, the flagship Viking Weave Cables Bifrost.
Mm-hmm.
It starts at 1,099 pounds. It's 21.6 gauge UPOCC silver. That's Ono continuous cast silver. Type 6 lids.
Right.
Beautiful pairing with the Canper CP622B. So I'm enjoying the heck out of this pairing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that we'll probably be adding Viking Weave cables to our cable collection here.
I wouldn't be
at
surprised.
Head HQ. Now, I also tried another one called the Swilo, but only very briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there were 6 of them that he sent.
Yeah.
But I wanted just to quickly go to you because you looked up to see what their names meant.
Oh yeah, I
Because
did.
there's 6 different names.
Yeah.
And you looked up and they were associated with runes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're all tied to Norse runes.
Yeah.
And the Bifrost, I think right away a lot of people are going to recognize that either from media or just from mythology and tales. But that's the bridge that connects Midgard to Asgard. And I kind of think it's a nice poetic choice for a name because if you think about it, Midgardians, us the listeners, trying to connect to the heavenly realm, which is our music, we need that bridge.
Right.
So that kind of helps us make that connection.
Yeah, and the Camper CP622B is pretty heavenly.
It
Yeah,
pretty
there
much
you go.
is. Yeah.
And then the Swilo. What was that rune?
The Swilo has a really cool, interesting story behind it. So that one symbolizes the sun, representing energy, guidance, and success. It's associated with victory and clarity. So based on that description, if it's the same kind of connection that they have with the Bifrost, I wouldn't be surprised to see that kind of adding a little bit more
Clarity?
detail and clarity and
Oh,
resolution.
I dig it.
But one that I actually think is quite interesting is I think it's 99 pounds. Their entry level, the Berkano. So the Berkano, that rune represents new beginnings, fertility, growth, renewal, symbolizing rebirth and regeneration, which if you think about an entry level, plant life, starting up and blooming to full.
Dude, you are so poetic.
I like his naming scheme. It works out really well, I think.
You are such a nerd, bro.
Yeah.
But I love it. All right. So I didn't get a chance to use the Swilo very much.
Yeah.
But I did get to use it briefly. But the Bifrost, I have been using and enjoying. So I want to try all 6 cables.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully I'll have time to. I'm going to bring a few different IEMs and try them at the show.
Right.
But especially you water cooler gang. Hey, I'm wearing my water cooler badge. At CanJam London, definitely try the Viking Weave cables. I know some of you already use their cables. They have a following. You'll understand why. Beautifully made cables. And talk to Sebastian. He's just such an interesting young man to talk to and very passionate about all this. I have a weakness for the people who are passionate about this stuff or anything or any hobby really. And Viking Weave cables is a must stop at CanJam London.
Well, friends, that's all the time we had for this preview of CanJam London, which is happening July 20th and 21st at the Park Plaza Westminster Bridge Hotel, right in the heart of London. Now, we obviously didn't have time to cover every product that's going to be there, so scrolling on your screen now is a list of all of the exhibitors and brands you'll be able to see at CanJam London this year. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in London and on the forums at headfi.org.